We got the new intro. Alright.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yes, sir. I saw that shit was fire.
Took Shinobi off, but it's just business, but it is what it is.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with
Hey
Shinobi.
folks, what's going on? We are here. I'm just going ahead and I had the Discord, but our webcams aren't showing simultaneously, so I'm using Batman's stream as the screen you'll be seeing. Hopefully the audio is synchronized to each other. You guys should be able to see well now. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me know if everything's synchronized, by the way, audio-wise. If what I'm saying is what's coming out of my mouth while you're watching. I know it's like not the Discord that you're watching, so let me know if that's the case. What the fuck? Oh wait, I think I gotta stay on this. All right, so I'm gonna use my phone to see what you guys are saying, and I think I have to stay on the specific application I'm capturing. If not, you guys won't be able to see shit. So give me a second here. Hope
Apologize,
you guys are doing well,
guys.
by the way. First off, yeah, this is the first time doing we're actually doing a webcam stream. Give me a second here. Sorry about that. Let me mute this shit. Okay, so yeah, we made a way. Yeah, let me go ahead and right there. All right, guys. I'm gonna look at you guys through the chat on my phone, so that way you guys can keep seeing us on here. Let me double check everything's good together. Okay. All right. So as you guys could tell, today, we're gonna start with some legitimate topics that need to be discussed. It's an unfortunate time for America in general. It's a sad time. It's a dark time. First off, hopefully you guys are all doing well. Hope you guys are staying safe during this dark time. And also, I just want to say God bless all. Hope you guys are all doing well, blessed and well. Let me pull up today's topics here so I could stay on track here. But I hope you guys are all doing well. We're just gonna get straight into it. This is some real stuff, obviously, and some serious topics that are being discussed here. So,
Oh, yeah.
we'll get straight up into it. Today we're going to be discussing at least the first part of this. So I'm gonna make a note here. I'm gonna make it a point of interest to skip all the serious things that are in the title. So if you guys want to skip to the more fun and lighthearted Q&A, anime, things of that nature. For those watching the recording, I'll probably put a timestamp after this is over, so you guys know where to skip to if you don't want to deal with the darker things that we're discussing. The serious topics that will be discussed here at the beginning of this. Yeah, I guess nationwide, we're still dealing with the repercussions of the vile assassination of, as we all know, and if you don't, we'll explain it in a second, of Charlie Kirk, as well as others that were murdered, such as, the vile Colorado high school shooting that happened, I think, the same day, which is
Yeah.
horrible.
It was the same fucking
Those are
day.
both heinous acts, and there's been others throughout the year,
Yeah.
this year alone,
It
unfortunately.
was the same fucking day, which is crazy, too. Yep.
Yeah, truly a sad day for America. With a man, the most highlighted one being Charlie, the man being brutally and publicly killed off, for expressing his beliefs and dedicating his life to spreading those beliefs. Now, whether you agree or not with him, we all must admit that inevitably and undisputedly, he was a God-fearing man.
Yep.
He was a devout husband, and probably most importantly, he was a father.
Yeah.
So
And he's
he
a
was
human
cared
being.
for by others individuals.
A fucking human
Yeah,
being.
We'll get into his beliefs and all that, whether you
Yeah.
disagree or not. But what we can say is that he was a decent enough of a human being to have a God-fearing family, to have a daughter and a daughter and wife that clearly adored him, that were there the second he was literally assassinated. It's truly, truly disheartening, and enough for millions of people around the world and in this nation specifically to mourn his death. That's undisputed. You can't disagree whether you don't like his beliefs or whatever. We'll get into that, but that is just the fact.
No,
That is his life. That's who he was.
Jay, it's absolutely facts.
Um,
Like, bro, his like
yeah,
rivals, like his literal rival, like got on stream. Like the guy that was like his biggest competitor to debate with him, whatever, so on and so forth. He was on stream and he was emotional. He was crying and he was fucking pissed. And he don't even
yeah,
he don't fuck with the
exactly.
guy. You know what I mean? Like he has opposing views, the whole nine, everything, etc. He's on the left, Charlie was on the right, or whatever. And that's it. You know what I mean? Like, and even he could have empathy, and it wasn't directly for Charlie, but it was for at least for his wife, his kids, the principle, the concept. You know what I mean? At the end of the, it's like it's fucked. You know what I mean? Because
Yep.
like if it was him, like in his fucking shoes, like let's say he was talking or whatever, and like he would want to get fucking shot, and all this bullshit. Like it's just crazy, dude. Like his own rival, even political parties that were against his views and didn't agree with it, and so on and so whatever you name it. Like even they, said their messages, very mature, rational, respectful, professional responses to the event, and saying condolences, whatever the whole nine, and speaking towards his family too, and the wife and kids. Like it's just crazy, man. It's sad, and then you got people on social media all around just like making jokes about it, making fun of it, glorifying it. Just, they're fucking just saying very nasty, inappropriate shit, or just simply making inappropriate statements. I mean, shit that you wouldn't say, obviously, if you're at a funeral, that you wouldn't say, obviously, to a loved one that lost, whoever they lost, and shit like that. And obviously, under the certain context that we already know of, because it was announced to everybody and shown everywhere, to where Charlie Kirk was shot and gunned down, in public at a fucking college university, So it's just unacceptable, man. It's unacceptable, But I don't know. One second, I'm having audio issues for some reason. Trying to fix this. Let me see one. Go over for the time being, Jay. Go over to your thing just to show you until I fix this. My audio's not working. Unless you want to still show my screen, but I'm gonna try to fix it for the time being. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can. I don't know why my audio is not coming through. Oh wait, I think, am I in the thing? That's fine. Yeah, no, I am. Yeah, let me try to join back. One sec. Can you hear me, Jay? You can? Okay. I can't hear you. That's weird. Why is that? Make sure my volume is on.
Sorry, folks. I literally didn't realize I literally.
Oh, you muted. Okay. Yeah, you got me. You got me, brother.
I'm so sorry, folks. I was
No,
so
you're
stupid.
good. I was like, wait a minute. Like, am I tripping? I'm like, what's wrong with my shit? I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
All right, my bad.
But then they said the audio isn't synced up on the Twitch stream. Is that when we both speak, guys? Let us know. Sorry about that. Sorry, that's my mistake.
Yeah, turn off the audio for the Twitch then, and just let it play through your OBS.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
We'll continue though, folks. Sorry about that. I'll make sure to fix that. If everything's cool, let us know too. It'll be cool.
Yeah. You could show the screen, like the Twitch screen, where it shows both our face cams, but make sure the audio's off on my Twitch stream.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be good, folks. Sorry about that. I literally didn't unmute myself after that. Sorry about that. Well, let's continue here. So, took a moment of silence for Charlie and them. I'll go ahead and do it again. So, whether or not you disagree with what happened, I believe I was muted when I said this. We all deserve to take a moment of silence for Charlie. If you want to, if you are mourning him, the innocent high school goers at Colorado Evergreens High School, or the House of Member Representatives that were gunned down in their own home in Minnesota. So whoever take a moment of silence for us, go ahead and do that real quick. It's unfortunate, and I think it's very appropriate. So let's do that real quick. Amen. But yeah, it's a very unfortunate, very serious matter, and
Hey Jay,
something such as Charlie's incident.
I'm looking at your stream real quick, brother. Just sorry to interrupt you. It's not showing you for some reason, your face cam or mine.
What the? So weird. Let me see. Sorry, folks. I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's not showing you
Think.
or me. There you go. Now I see you. There you go. Yep, I see you now.
Okay. Does it want to have Discord open? That might be why.
Maybe. Um.
Very strange.
Yeah. See, now your face cam went away. There you go. You're back. There you go.
Went away.
You're back now. You're back now.
That's weird. Yeah, it's like coming back and going away. Let me see. Should stay? Alright. I'm just gonna stay on Discord through here.
What worst case? I am streaming this, and I'm gonna be releasing this on my YouTube channel too. So you'll be able to see me and Jay at all times. But we're new to this. Yeah, we're new to this. We're trying to get this all resolved, and at least streaming through his end and shit. So my fault, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll figure it out by next time for sure. But
you're on though. You're good though.
It's been a very dark times.
Yep.
Okay, good. But yeah, it's been some very dark times as of late since the Charlie incident and the high school shooting incident, and many others this year, unfortunately. So to kind of give a scoop for those that are unaware, or just out of the loop, that don't know what exactly happened, Charlie Kirk, who was a public political commentator, I would say he leaned right, was executed in brutal fashion during a public college tour just a few days ago. The shooter, though, fortunately has been arrested, is in custody, has been subdued, and hopefully he is punished, God willing, to the fullest extent of the law, whatever that may be. Hopefully that's the case. Now, this horrific incident has also caused an uptick in online verbal conflict concerning key political topics such as specifically gun control and freedom of speech, which was on full which with this incident again caused that uptick. So now another reason this incident was so destructive from a political standpoint is the very fact that this was a very public and traumatic example, I'd like to say, of a blatant challenge and suppression of the freedom of speech, because the domino effect of this will be that all Americans, whether those that have high or low levels of influence, will inevitably be more hesitant to express and share their ideas due to the traumatic event that took place.
Absolutely.
That was blatantly done.
It was in public. It was literally in public at a college
ideas.
university. Yeah. In public. You know?
Public execution.
So that people are going to be rightfully so paranoid, scared, skeptical, the whole fucking nine. I don't blame them. You know what I mean? Like, at the rate we're at, you might as well be, like, in your own home streaming. And, like, you can have your face cam and all that, and there you go. But at least you're safe. You know what I mean? Like, at public attendance, or events, that's going to go out the window at this point now, And it's sad.
Yeah, exactly. So, very clear that high profile political commentators and influencers will, or at least should be, much more cautious. Life is fragile, time is fleeting. You never know when your last day will be. Every breath has the potential to be your last. That's just the reality that we are in. And that leads us to the next key topic, which, this is a transition. That being political tribalism in modern America and just in Western civilization. Modern tribalism, because of this Charlie incident and all of the division and verbal conflict it's caused, is at an all-time high. I haven't seen it this high since Trump's first election or first run as president.
Yeah, like the Trump attempt.
It's very, very high right now.
There was even
that was also if that were to be successful, if that assassination attempt was successful, that would have even eclipsed this as far as impact. On a not on a national level, but on a global level. It's been happening on the course of history in a way. Yeah.
No, you're good, brother. Sorry, I interrupted you. It's been happening on both ends too, and not just like on the the Democrats or only or whatever. It's been on Republican end. Like there's been multiple assassinations. It's been a lot more frequent. Now it's not consistent on a daily basis, but it's been throughout periodically. Either through months or through the years, and we've had many assassinations or attempts where they weren't successful. We just had the Trump shit, and then we just had literally not even an official politician, but just a speaker, a controversial speaker, right? You know, for his views, whatever, and so on and so forth. And mind you, this fits to multiple categories. You could be a streamer, you could be a YouTuber, you know what I mean? You could be fucking whatever the case may be. It goes for all of that, because that's basically the criteria that he was fitting under too. You know what I mean? So now it puts everyone under a lens. Everyone is technically in the danger zone, because it's not just politicians that do that. You know, we all use social media or stream and make, you know, businesses, whatever, and make profit off, you know, whether if it's our views, freedom of speech, trying to change the world, or something you're really good at, whatever the fuck case may be, you know? So it's getting crazy, dude. It's getting crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a very divisive time. The tribalism has caused some very vile responses from the left, specifically concerning Charlie and the incident that occurred with his unfortunate assassination. So we're going to get into that now. This isn't a political, centered opinion. This is simply just an opinion concerning just basic human decency. So I think if any man or woman is assassinated and they're not some heinous criminal, they don't have a clear agenda to incite violence or harm upon others, then they deserve some level of respect. I believe Charlie, fell into that category and still does post-mortem. I believe that he, of course, had beliefs that others didn't believe. Now, as far as sympathy, if Charlie is a political commentator.
No.
The majority of us don't know who he is personally. You don't owe him sympathy. I understand that.
Yeah, no.
But to go out of your way to celebrate and or joke about his death, I believe is in poor taste. It's distasteful.
Yep.
It's disrespectful, and I think there's no benefit from doing it. The only benefit being appeasing to your own emotional bias towards him, and honestly, the hatred you have for him. That's probably the strong. It almost requires that feeling for that vile response to his death. To celebrate and or joke about it, it almost requires you to hate him or strongly dislike him.
Yeah.
Now again, you don't have to have sympathy for him. You don't have to go out of your way and post a tribute to him. But to go out of your way to celebrate it, to celebrate the death, to joke about it, it's disrespectful, it's distasteful.
The craziest aspect of that too, Jay, is like what's really crazy too is two wrongs don't make a fucking right either. Like that's the thing, like because at the end of the day, it's in question of like the allegations and what people claim him to be, whatever. That's in question at the end of the day, right? Because me and you don't fucking know him like that, right? We'd have to do more homework, whatever, blah blah. But exactly. Even if he was what people are claiming, right? The allegate, whatever, and so on and so forth. If he is this hypothetical evil bad person, right? Why the fuck are you doing shit that you despise or you're against and advocating against? Does that make any fucking sense? Like glorifying someone's death or joking about it, whatever. What does that make you? That doesn't make you any better than that fucking person. And if anything, you're continuing the fucking toxic cycle. You know what I mean? You're enabling this fucking immense infestation of hatred and fucking and just petty bullshit. And all this fucking nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's what doesn't make it sense. It's hypocritical. It makes no fucking sense. And at the end of the day, like you said, you don't have to be empathetic to this person. You don't have to be sympathetic to this person. You're entitled to your feelings. That's perfectly fine. Nobody's asking you to feel or do whatever. The only thing that we're saying where we draw the line, where it's like, what the fuck are we doing at this point? Are we like, we're losing our humanity at this fucking point, okay, is we think it's acceptable to, on top of it, glorify, celebrate, joke, insult the person, you know what I mean? Or make inappropriate fucking statements. Like, to think of it very simply, if you're at a funeral, you know what not to say, right? It's a fucking funeral, right? You know what I mean? You very obviously know what not to say. Would you fucking say, oh, I guess he won the debate in a funeral? No, right? Would you say that to his wife and kids? Right. No, right? It's common sense. You know what the fuck is appropriate. You know what's not appropriate, So at the end of the day, like, that's the fucking issue. Right. And then what Jay just said, then it corresponds and goes into this domino effect, and it goes to show how fucking desensitized we have become. I've seen all kinds of shit, whether if it's people saying crazy shit on social media, or if it's people, or if it's fucking celebrities or athletes or whatever. Like, there's this one dude, Sean Strickland or whatever, the UFC fighter. He's talking about it, and he brings it up, and he immediately starts saying he was excited to see it. He's like, oh shit, like, what the hell, blah, blah. And then he realized, like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And he starts, like, taking accountability, shit talking himself, whatever, the whole nine, and basically just coming to a realization and point like, hey, like we're really fucked as a society because everyone is just going like these sociopathic tendencies or fucking just so desensitized to shit. It's like violence is just okay now. Like as long as you don't like the person or you disagree with the person, apparently violence
Yeah.
is acceptable. That's fucking crazy, you know. So
Exactly.
I don't know.
That's unacceptable behavior. Like you said, it's hypocritical to engage in that vile type of rhetoric because you're condemning this man for that very same thing. Like, oh, he's prejudiced towards a group or whatever exactly it is. He's prejudiced towards X, Y, or Z. He's inciting violence against them. He wants harm done upon them. But yet, when he's assassinated, you go out of your way to celebrate his death, to celebrate to celebrate his demise. It is hypocritical. Again, you don't have to have sympathy for him. You don't owe him that. You don't. The majority of Americans don't know him personally. His family did. His immediate group of friends did. They obviously are going to sympathize for him. They know him personally. Outside of that, we don't owe him sympathy. That's the reality. A lot of us do sympathize for him because we have heart when it comes to vile assassinations for people that are most likely decent human beings. If he really was, like Batman said, the evil monster that he wouldn't have the following that he does.
No.
Now, I know you could say, oh, that doesn't necessarily prove that he wasn't a vile monster. Look at Hitler and the following he received. Now, if we were to compare their rhetoric, it's night and day.
False
Hitler
equivalence.
emphasized racial superiority.
Yep.
It's a false equivalence. It's certainly a false equivalence. Just because you have a bias, prejudice toward him, that doesn't automatically conclude that he's Hitler, right? People say, well, Hitler didn't kill anyone with his hands either. Okay, but we got to compare the rhetoric. We got to compare the rhetoric. Just because you don't like what Charlie's saying, that doesn't automatically conclude that he's attempting to create a new race that's perfect in his eyes and screw all other races. That's not the case. You don't have to prove that.
Yeah,
So
no.
go out of your way and just automatically state that. That's fallacious. It's an appeal to emotion.
It's fucking crazy. Like
That's what
to
it
add
is.
to that, Jay. Like it's a simple
appeal to
it's a
emotion.
simple question. Oh, they bring up Hitler, whatever, blah blah. It's a false fucking equivalence because if you really think about it, okay, here's a simple question: did Charlie do concentration camps? Did he get a whole army of people and force people to be in concentration camps? No. Did he get an army of people and command them to do genocide? No. Did he fucking what I mean? There's so many drastic extreme differences. Like it's not that's just not the fucking case. Period. It's completely different. You know what I mean? You could have words and have viewpoints, and then you have enforcement of those viewpoints and opinions and doing actions on top of it to the point where the United States had to get involved and stop that and so on and so forth because like, oh hell fucking no, they're becoming a problem, whatever, blah blah, you name it, the whole nine. He didn't do any of that. You know what I mean? He didn't do any enforcements. He didn't command an army. He didn't do none of that. So
No, he didn't incite it. He didn't. It's he didn't try to persuade those that followed him to incite violence. King says, don't agree with his takes, but I got freedom of speech. We're in a bad state right now. Yeah, I appreciate the comment, King. You're absolutely right. Also appreciate Omni Savage, and Mr. Pill for coming in. Appreciate the brothers for coming in. Appreciate all you guys coming in.
appreciate you.
So like I'm gonna say here, when it comes to, we appreciate you guys and everyone else watching. When it comes to modern day politics, we all have what I consider nearly universal moral agreements. We don't kill. We shouldn't kill. We shouldn't steal. We shouldn't lie on a grand scale. We all agree with that, right? I always say a good template of what is considered almost universally morally accepted is the Ten Commandments in the Judeo-Christian Bible. Again, don't kill, don't cheat, don't steal. We all agree with that, right? But we're in times of first world conditions, so our minds have to go to other places to seek conflict, to seek competition. This is an important note. Humans are inherently competitive. Humans are inherently tribal. Humans are inherently are conflictory, meaning because of how human history has progressed, wars have always been the case. Back in the day, centuries ago, even millennia ago, they were much more brutal in fashion. So violence was almost a necessity back then.
Yep.
Now, in modern civilization, at least Western civilization,
it's contained.
We live in a time where things are so comfortable.
Yeah.
That our minds, it's so comfortable that we have to seek almost trivial forms of conflict. Now, let me bring up some examples of what I consider morally great topics in politics, because in politics we've gone to a point where we're in pretty good shape as far as, again, not perfect, no system's perfect, but as far as equality, as far as the chance to have an opportunity to do something better with your life, the chance to become better, we're in the best place we've ever been in modern in human history. That's inevitable, that's undebatable. But because of that, we now have very morally great topics in politics. And this is what I always say. I'm not going to call someone the devil for saying we shouldn't have guns because there's a moral justification for that. I'm not going to call someone a devil for saying we should have guns because there's a moral justification for that. So to automatically
Or
conclude that this
because
guy's
someone
Hitler because he
believes
thinks
in
we should have
abortion,
guns,
like that's one of
that's
them too. You know, like people like
yeah,
if God forbid if you're against
yeah.
or
Abortion is another one.
yeah, if you're
Abortion is another one.
against abortion or if you're not against abortion, it doesn't matter what fucking side you're on. If you're then the opposite spectrum says, "Oh, you're a monster," or this or that. So like that's not how that works. You know what I mean? Like if you critically think and analyze, okay, there's pros and
No,
cons
no.
to each stance inside, and you have to look at it in more logical ways of what does more good than harm at
Yeah,
the end of the
there's
fucking
definitely
day.
pros and cons.
You know, there's pros and cons, and no matter what, there's no perfect solution to
Yeah.
fucking anything, especially when it is complex. You know what I mean?
No,
Morality and philosophy is
no.
extremely complicated. It is not black and white. If it was, we wouldn't be having these conversations. The world wouldn't be the way it fucking is. You know, so like
Yeah.
again, like you know, there's all kinds of fucking examples. All because you have a certain perception of something doesn't mean because you don't see that same perception or you can't understand whether if it's an IQ issue, whether if it's just an incompetence, ignorance issue, whether if it's just simply you being emotionally biased and just just being a fucking clown. Regardless of what the reason is, therefore that doesn't dictate reality to where that means he's just bad and evil. You know what I mean? Because he's not my way, right? You know, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And you know, I'm gonna take one little break because this hits really hard at what Jay's saying. One little break. I'm gonna show something on my screen because eventually I was gonna post this, but I'm gonna show this so you guys can see it. And I'm gonna turn off my face cam here just temporarily. But this right here, I don't know if you guys ever remember the quote Itachi said that every single one of us goes through life depending on and bound by our individual knowledge and awareness, and we call it reality. However, both knowledge and awareness are equivocal. One's reality might be another's illusion. That's important to understand and think and analyze because that technically relates to this particular situation. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't ever always do your homework. You know what I mean? Always do your homework. You actually look into it. Don't ever listen to people blindly. Don't follow people blindly. I don't care if it's a content creator, a streamer, a famous person, athlete, average person, whatever you name it. You can take that information into consideration, so on and so forth, but do your own diligence as well and don't be naive and ignorant. Because at the end of the day, you know, what is really most important with that quote with Itachi, where he's talking about all that, the reason why it's really important is because it basically gets into subjective reality. You know what I mean? It highlights that reality is not an objective truth, but a construct of an individual's perception. And our understanding is limited by our own knowledge and awareness, which can differ greatly from person to person. And knowledge and awareness are vague, right? That quote states that knowledge and awareness are equivocal, meaning they can be interpreted in different ways and are not fixed or absolute. When he says the living in fantasies part, consequently, we all live within our own fantasies or subjective worlds where our personal truth is our only reality, even if it's an illusion to someone else. So what we may think is the truth or what's right or whatever and so on and so forth is a complete fucking 180 for someone else based upon XYZ, you know? So I just kind of wanted to bring that up, but I'm going to pull it back.
Yeah.
You know, but it's crazy, man. It's fucking crazy, you know? So.
Yeah, so like Batman said, what he insinuated with the idea of our limitations, the very idea of freedom of speech, which is again this incident challenged and attempted to suppress, and on a grand scale, not only Charlie literally by taking his life, but on a global, at least on a nationwide scale, is freedom of speech is the key to improvement as a society. So
Yep.
the flaw that humans have is that we can never truly reach perfection. As of now, in 2025, perfection is unattainable on a physical level, on a mental level, technological level, etc., whatever you want to call it, whatever other aspects you want to include. It's
Yep.
unattainable. So with freedom of speech, we have the ability to introduce ideas, to combat ideas, to improve upon ideas, etc. If we destroy that, logic is at stake. Logic is being challenged, and a certain group of people are attempting to destroy it, such as that piece of shit that shot Charlie. They're trying to destroy logic because of their emotional bias towards an individual, a group, a political affiliation, etc. That's very dangerous. That's a dangerous precedent because It's going to have what I call a domino effect. You know, it's a physics property, but it also applies, in my opinion, to morality, to society,
Yeah.
to emotions that humans have. What's going to happen is if one side is just heavily suppressed and censored, it's going to cause resentment. And as more resentment begins to build up, that's how you have revolutions. That's how you have civil wars. That's literally what could happen if that
Yeah,
continues. If
like
that
like
trend, if this trend continues, it's going to cause enough resentment to cause actual violence on a grand scale, such
yeah.
as civil war, centuries
It could
ago,
be
and then
wars. It could be
which we all
civil
know.
wars. It could be.
So
It's gonna get worse in so many fucking ways. Like again, freedom of speech. The reason why it's so important, like what Jay is saying, and just to further substantiate, like that is to prevent violence. That is to understand one another. You know, like to be able to come to the same table, and whether if you agree to disagree in the end, or whether or not maybe you even change your mind and now leaning towards that, whatever the case, or better yet, you just at least are more understanding to that particular position or whatever, right? That's the whole point. It's to use our words, right? It's to not harm one another. It's to not take a life. It's to not try to enforce our views, and so on and so whatever you name it. Enforcement is obviously wrong. Violence is obviously wrong. Freedom of speech is not evil. Freedom of speech is not a crime. That's what people don't understand. Freedom of speech is not a crime. Can freedom of speech have consequences? Yes. But is it a crime? No. Those are two different fucking things and distinguishments, and people don't understand that. And at the end of the day, the most important factor with freedom of speech is to get to peaceful solutions, okay? Or to be able to work with your rivals, your enemies, your competitors, whatever the case may be. And most importantly, to function and work as a society, right? Because when we get into war and all these other things or whatever, all it does is more damage and more problems. And what do you know? Remember, guys, if for any anime fans or anyone that's watched Naruto, and it gets really, really disappointing, especially with the anime community or manga community, because if anything, you guys should know this fucking better than anyone else. But the irony is you guys are the ones acting the most the fucking fools and stupid and so on and so forth, or fucking being inappropriate or whatever. But when it comes to certain animes and mangas, Naruto as an example, okay, you're very well aware of the cycle of hatred. You know what I mean? Where you emit violence, and then it does another, an eye for an eye. And it could be for any reasons, It could be for religion, politics, whatever the fuck case may be. At the end of the day, if you're hurting someone or causing pain to someone, okay, love breeds hatred, the cycle of hatred, and it just goes fucking crazy. And never works out. Everything goes to shit. If you've seen Naruto, that theme is heavily emphasized, you know what I mean, with what's wrong with the world. And that heavily relates to our world on top of it. We have the same fucking issues, So again, like, at the end of the day, you guys really have to understand, freedom of speech is extremely important. And we have to utilize it to prevent civil wars, violence, issues, things from escalating. It's a de-escalating measure, not to escalate, okay? And so on and so forth. And again, I'm not saying freedom of speech doesn't have consequences. I'm not even supporting I'm not supporting hate speech. I'm not supporting that. That's very common sense. That's not okay either. But is it fucking killing someone? You know what I mean? Taking a life? No. Is it shooting up a fucking place? No. They're words, right? They're words. And because they're words, guess what? That means it boils down to your will, your intellect, okay, and your self-control and your own capacity. And ultimately, it's down to you as a fucking individual and person. All because someone's speaking and saying things doesn't mean they have mind control, That's not a fucking thing. People act like someone fucking speaks or whatever, and it, you know what I mean? Like, it's a... No, that's not how that fucking works. You can still do what you need to do and make your own fucking decisions. Accountability goes both ways, is basically what I'm getting to, okay? It goes both fucking ways. So, regardless of a speaker, whatever the fuck they're expressing, whatever...
Listener and the orator.
Thank you. Thank you. So, like, again, there's no excuse. You can't blame the fucking speaker, or you can't just be like, blah, 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 whatever. That's not how that works either. Because I know that was a lot of things people were also bringing into it as well, or trying to blame, like, well, he's doing damage and blah, blah, and all this stuff, or hey, whatever, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, even though that's in question, whether or not he's actually doing that, but again, even if that was the case, okay, it boils down to both elements, though. You know what I mean? You have to be smarter than that. Again, that's why I said before in the whole Itachi thing, do your own homework. Be smart. You know what I mean? Apply certain things in your life before just immediately jumping the gun or taking the word of someone else. Maybe have conversations with other people. Better yet, maybe listen to the opposing side that's saying the opposite spectrum to see, right? Don't just stick to one thing either. Like, be aware and be smart. and be better. You know, it's very simple, but I don't know. Fucking
Yeah. I think, yeah, like we were saying, like I was saying earlier, there's been a constant battle between emotion and logic. Um, as emotion continues to win, we approach dangerous territories as far as what's accepted, certain ideological beliefs, certain again incidents such as the one that we've been discussing this whole time. It's a very dangerous precedent. Now, I'm not saying emotions have no usefulness. Clearly, there are emotions that are beyond science, love,
yeah,
loyalty, all these emotions that you have. They have a beneficial they have a beneficial use in society.
yep,
Um, but you have to keep a balance between logic and emotion. That's what makes a great leader.
yeah.
That's what makes a great president, a great king, a great prime minister, whatever you want to call it, a great general in war. There has to maintain a balance between emotion and logic. And with again freedom of speech being challenged the way it was just a few days ago, that's a dangerous precedent that logic will begin to diminish in society. And then once important presuppositions begin to be erased, society will crumble. When we don't know we don't know what's right and what's not because everyone has their own opposing viewpoints. And if you have a certain viewpoint and you iterate it and you're killed or you're crucified, whatever the case may be, that's dangerous. That's how societies crumble,
Like Jay,
and that's
you
how
know what that
societies in
makes
the
us
past have
too.
crumbled
You,
historically.
you know what that makes us too? It makes fucking the U.S. like other fucking evil countries, like North Korea or or Russia and so on,
Yeah.
where God forbid you speak and say something in a review or whatever, or do something, you're killed for it. They don't put up with that shit. They don't fucking tolerate that shit. You got to do or say what the fuck they want. The government's there and for those countries. Here we have democracy. We have we have
Well,
freedom.
one way.
We have all these rights, whatever, and you can do what you want. You know, and the reason why is because
Yeah.
the whole point is to not
To
have
me,
violence, to not have death, to not have war, to not have civil wars. That's the whole fucking point. You know what I mean? Like, but yet you motherfuckers are glorifying or joking away, whether regardless if the person's bad or not, regardless if you like the person or not, that you guys are glorifying and trying to justify or all this bullshit. When at the end of the day, you don't even advocate for that. You're against that. Because you would never fucking live in North Korea or Russia or any other fucking countries to where they control not only what you say, but what you do. You know, like, so it just, again, it blows my mind. It's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like, we have the ability to have freedom, not completely, but tremendously, basically, almost to that complete regard. Especially with speech. Especially with speech. You can
yeah,
say whatever the fuck you want, okay? You know? Good or bad, but we have that ability. And
yeah,
again, there's a reason for that, and you have to know the pros of that. There is a lot more pros in that. Are there cons? Yes, because again, I said freedom of speech can also have consequences. But when you analyze the pros and cons, there is a tremendous amount of pros, okay? Because if you want to live in a fucking tyrant fucking country or whatever, or want to be controlled what you're saying or what you're doing, whatever, then go to another fucking country. You know what I mean? If it bothers you that much, go to another fucking country.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing living in
yeah.
the fucking
Well, it comes down
U.S.?
to
You know? So,
yeah, it comes down to privilege is invisible to those that have it,
yeah.
and we're so privileged we don't realize the great system that has been implemented or that was set up and started by the founding fathers. It's visible to us how great it actually is to be able to go out and say what you want to say on social media and
Make a
express your
living
ideas,
off
whether
it.
they're complete opposite of someone else's.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, and to not be prosecuted prosecuted for that and things of that nature. Obviously, there are exceptions such as true hate speech and
Yeah,
true
like
incitement to
like
violence.
threatening someone.
Um,
Yeah, things like
it's a
that.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing, and we don't. Yeah, yeah.
You know?
So we don't realize how good we actually have it. The ability to try to improve ourselves. We can literally go to the gym tomorrow and start
Yeah.
making our
You can
bodies
say
better.
whatever, yeah.
Literally start reading a book about anything we want and
Yeah.
start becoming more intelligent. It's a beautiful
You
thing
can
we don't
sing what you
realize,
want. Do
and
what you
to
want. Do
double
anything.
down to the point where yeah,
You know?
and to get to the point where you're gonna hate someone because they have a different opinion on a very morally great topic is beyond me. And again, that just shows that the privilege we have is invisible to us,
Yep.
and we could certainly all do better.
We
I
take
do
shit
think
for granted.
battles of ideas are important, but there's a way to. Yeah, we take shit for granted every day, and time is fleeting. Time is finite. You can buy more houses, more cars. You can never buy more time. Um, And like I said, every breath you take has the potential to be your last. You never know. So you should try to be the best man or woman you can be with the time that you do have, and don't waste your energy
It's a waste of
doing
energy.
things
Yeah.
that foster hate for reasons that aren't. Yeah, it's a waste of
Yeah.
time. It's a waste of energy. Even in our community, for example, if someone tells you, let's say, for example, Tobarama, someone tells you, "Oh, you're go fuck yourself. You're a piece of shit because you don't agree on a certain take." Is it really worth your time responding?
Yeah.
Is it really worth your time? Is it really worth your energy
Because do you
so
have
you can do
control
something
over
better with
that?
your life? It's not.
Like, do you
Most
have
of the
any
times, it's
control
not.
over that? I mean, like for IRL, do you
Yeah,
have
you have
control
control.
of any of the things? You know what I mean? No, you have absolutely no control because at the end of the day, you can't control a fucking human being. You know what I mean? Like you can't. You know, like it's like why try
Yeah,
to focus so much of
yeah,
your energy or waste all your time in things that you have no control of? You know what I mean? Or get into something that at the end of the day, if it isn't hurting you physically, right? You know what I mean, or not, then why do you care? You know what I mean? Like why? Like you move on with your life because at the end of the day,
yeah. To that extent,
yeah, like what people don't understand is fucking when shit, and I hope it never does. But if shit was to ever hit the fan, whether if it's an apocalypse scenario, whatever the fuck it is, okay, your views aren't gonna fucking matter. Your opinions and feelings aren't gonna matter. None of that shit matters. It'd be survival. That's what matters. It's gonna be survival at the end of the day. But guess what? You
yeah,
don't have to ever worry about that, and you have that luxury because again, like we said, what you take for granted and whatever and so on and so forth, we're in a fucking country where that's completely out the window for the time being, to where you could do whatever the fuck you want and say whatever you want. You know what I mean? So again, like you guys really have to understand,
exactly.
it's not that's not shit you fixate on. You know what I mean? Like you don't obsess over shit. That's not healthy.
Yeah,
You need to fixate on improving yourself at the end of the day, growing yourself as a human being, being open to multiple perspectives at the end of the day, okay? And most importantly, if you believe in something, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point of what the US is. You do
yeah,
what you believe in, right? You utilize your freedoms and you make the best of it, right? And if there's something you're really passionate or really want to get involved or engage or whatever, that's perfectly fine. But you do it by the book and by the right way with your words, freedom of speech, okay? And going from there. Never violence, never gun violence, never fucking murder. You know what I mean? And it's that simple, man. It's really that fucking simple. So,
yeah. And that's the beauty. Another beauty of this country is, there's a lot of meritocracy. People call it capitalism. I call it meritocracy. That's the beauty of debate. The idea of competing ideas. If your idea is superior or you'll win the debate, you don't fucking kill someone
yeah.
because you disagree with them. That is, ironically, that fucking piece of shit lost the debate because he didn't have the intelligence and the emotional control to actually go up and speak to Charlie. Instead, he took his life. That's a piece of shit, and that's the biggest L he can take in debate. That's probably the biggest L in debate history. So he took an L, not Charlie. That piece of shit took an L. Now he's probably gonna lose his life, deservingly so. That piece of shit probably deserves to die.
Yeah, for life.
Honestly,
It
he
depends
does.
what
That guy's a
it
sack
depends
of
what
shit.
state it
That
is.
guy.
But either that's a
Yeah.
death sentence or that's he has for life and that's it, done. And again, like, and that's what I'm saying, guys. Like,
Yeah. So
like,
that's the guy that lost the game.
yeah, like the way the U.S. operates, we only convict you or punish you when you do actions, not words. Actions, violence, you know what I mean? Things like that, whatever, things that can actually be problematic and have a
Yep.
chain negative domino effect, okay? Having fucking words or whatever and saying so on and so forth, that's nowhere near to the extreme in extent of violence. Violence is what we're more trying to stay away and be afraid of
Yep.
and so on and so forth. Words, because that's not just something that can just kill someone, right? It doesn't work like that. It's not like a fucking fiction or whatever, okay? That will ultimately boil down to the individual itself and how they take it. And at the end of the day, that's only affecting a very small percentage of people and so on and so forth, right? And then you compare the other one, which is violence, which would literally affect anybody. It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. It's just the wrong time and place at that point. So again, like, you guys have to understand and be aware. You know what I mean? There's no perfect solutions. There's no black and white, whatever. But you have to realize what does the most good compared to the bad, right? There's pros and cons in everything.
Yeah. To eliminate someone's life because of a difference in ideas and opinion, we can all agree universally that's unacceptable. He will be punished to the full extent of the law, rightfully so. And that should be an example of what you shouldn't do when you disagree. That's literally the complete opposite you should do when you disagree. What you should
Yeah.
do is have a conversation. Maybe your ideas are better, but discuss that. And if that's the case, people will see that and they'll agree with you, not the competitor.
Here's
That's the
a
way it should be. That's the beauty of freedom of speech. That's what it was intended to foster. So
like Jay. Look at Martin Luther King. Look at him. You know what I mean? Like how he did it. He went by the book. He used freedom of speech. He influenced fucking billions of people. You know what I mean? Fighting for rights. To fight against racism, discrimination, whatever.
Generation.
He didn't do it with violence. No, he did it with self-control, resilience, willpower. He did it by believing in people. He did it by believing in redemption, right? That's another thing everyone forgets. Redemption. People are capable of change.
Yeah.
We humans, we all make fucking mistakes. Nobody's innocent. Not a single person on this fucking planet is innocent. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all have done shit, So, like, at the end of the day, that's another important element that we all disregard too, is redemption. People are capable of change. It is possible. And again, that's why you must do what's right and do it by the book. Again, Martin Luther King is a fucking perfect example. He never got emotional. He never got fucking sensitive. When, if anything, he was the one you would think he would, because of how bad it was back then. And how horrible, fucking black people went through and shit. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, at that point in time, I wouldn't fucking blame them, because they actually had reasons, But now it's, oh, you hurt my feelings, or I don't agree with you, you know what I mean? Or you said a fact that I don't like. Oh, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. So again, like with that example as Martin Luther King, that's how you do it. You know what I mean? If you have a problem with something, if you want to confront evil or bad or whatever it is, we have so many examples. It's not even just Martin Luther King. There's many examples. But that's just one example. That's how you do it. By the book. With freedom of speech on top of it. You combat further. And if people realize that you are obviously correct, or people realize that you're the superior, right? And you're the logical and whatever and blah, 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 you name it. Guess who gets the movement that gravitates to you? Guess who gets the biggest influence, right? And so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Like, you earn what you get. You have to put the effort to get it. You can't just bitch and complain and all this stuff, or immediately be emotional or do all this crazy shit when you have it so fucking good, okay? So again, like, and mind you, you got...
No idea. No idea.
And the craziest thing is the shit that you guys are sensitive or go super emotional, lose your shit over, okay? Like, you have the examples right there, but you don't follow that. That's what's fucking crazy to me. They did it by the book, and they won. Yep. They won too. They won. Black people have rights. We have fucking museums for it. We go over the history. We talk about it. Everything. Like, we have examples of accomplishments, success. They won. You know what I mean? How many times good has triumphed over evil? How many fucking times? But yet everybody gives up.
Throughout history.
Yeah, but yet everybody gives up, and they want to do all this bullshit they're doing and do shit that enables even more violence, more problems, more drama, more division, more desensitization, the fucking whole nine, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And basically, what I'm leading with this, we lived in a fucking point in time, and I don't know if you remember this, Jay, but back when I was a little kid, it was around the time where our fucking parents could leave the doors open. They could let us be outside and shit. You know what I mean? We could do whatever. There was no fucking problems, And things just got worse and worse and worse throughout time. And the question is, why? How did we get to this point? And honestly, that's a genuine question I have for you too, Jay, because it really gets you to think. It's like, how the fuck did we get to this point where things are so bad, where we have to keep our doors locked, where we have to fucking watch what we say, where we have to be, we're always on eggshells, you know what I mean? Or God forbid, we can't be in a fucking restaurant or think our kids are going to be safe at fucking school, for crying out loud. How did we get to this point? And I know we dived a little bit into the reasons or whatever, blah, blah. But honestly, that's a really important question to really, and that's what we should all really be focusing at the end of the day. It's not ultimately about Charlie Kirk or about everything, whatever. It's about why we're even to this fucking point and how are we going to do better, Like, and like, so serious, like, what do you think on that, Jay? Like, how did we get this far,
I think what happened is we reached a point again, first world conditions. Things are great, at least physically, as far as security and on a grand scale from other countries invading things of that nature. So when society was at such a harmonious point from a security standpoint, I think what happened is perhaps throughout generations, certain ideologies continued to be an influence in future generations. And, unfortunately, we've had some dangerous groups throughout U.S. history, the KKK, for example.
Yeah.
We've had these groups that have continued to stand the test of time. You could argue in the political spectrum, both sides of the spectrum, we have radicalized individuals. These sort of, I would say, ideologies or radicalized ideologies have continued to stand the test of time. And these outlier spectrums or these outlier ideologies, they're the minority, but they're loud. For
Yeah.
example, the piece of shit that shot fucking Charlie.
Yep.
99% of fucking leftists would not agree with that. 99% of leftists wouldn't do what he did. But because these ideologies have still continued to progress, and because whether it's resentment, whether it's jealousy, envy, those things still exist. And that just goes back to the flaws humans have. And what's amplifying this is mainstream media continuously iterating that we're all perfect the way they are.
So
We're all
social media is
perfect
a
the
big
way
one.
we are,
That's a
and
big
we
one,
shouldn't
Jay.
let anyone change us.
Social media. That's a big one,
Yeah,
Jay. Yeah, that's a big
yeah.
one to it.
It's social media and mainstream media has iterated a dangerous philosophy because on the surface it sounds well-hearted. It sounds righteous. Oh, you're perfect the way you are. Whatever you say is right.
Hi, Miss.
Everyone should love you. You're special. That's not reality. Reality is humans in their very nature are competitive beings, and it really is survival of the fittest. Obviously, that's not displayed in today's modern, comfortable society. It's displayed more subtly through economic classes and who gets the nice car, who doesn't, who's in the suburbs of some shitty city, and who's in Beverly Hills in the mansion. That still exists, and because social media doesn't want to admit that and admit that you have to become better,
Yeah.
you have people that begin to resent those doing better than them in life. For example, that piece of shit that shot Charlie, I guarantee he's envious of him. He's jealous of
Oh
him
yeah.
because he's
Yep.
so he's so influential that and he has a belief that he doesn't have. And this guy he's like a fucking loser. I'm just being honest. So he went out of his way to take out a very successful and a very respected man because he probably resented him. He probably was jealous of him. He was probably envious of him. And that has to be expressed on a large scale. We have to let, especially younger generation men know that it's not peaches and cream. You
No.
don't get what the fuck you want if you don't put the work in. You're gonna resent people if you pretend that you're perfect and that if I sit down and eat Cheetos, I should be given all the wealth and all the women. That's not reality.
No,
That's not the
you
way the
have
world
to
works.
earn what
The
you get.
winners win,
Like
the
again,
losers
look at
lose.
our ancestors. Look
Exactly.
at our
You have to earn it.
ancestors for like any Spanish people. I'm Spanish myself. Jay,
They didn't live that way.
Jay looks Spanish as well. Like Spanish
Yeah.
had to earn all the shit that they got. Our ancestors, they had to earn all that shit. Same thing with black people.
Exactly.
They had to earn all that shit. White people were a lot more, what's the word? Like a fucking better spot, whatever. The whole nine. I'm not saying that.
Privileged.
I'm not. Yeah, privilege basically. They had it,
Yeah.
whatever. But was it perfect for them
Privilege.
either? No, because there were certain things they also struggled with way back then, history wise, whatever. But point being said is they all had to work for what the fuck they wanted. Shit does not just change because you want it
earned
to
it.
fucking happen. They earned it. So whether or not you gotta go out and about all the fucking time, lose sleep, work yourself to a whatever the fuck it is, you gotta do what you gotta fucking do. You know what I mean? And again, we have examples for that. We have history
Yep.
for a reason, okay, and so on and so forth. But yet we dismiss that and we don't approach the examples that we have, and we don't continue to go towards that direction. And that is the problem. And like Jay said before, social media being one of the factors of how we got to this point, and on top of it, which another thing that he was leaning into basically is mental health. Mental health is fucking shit. It's fucking horrible nowadays. But again,
Horrible.
we can, to an extent, because it obviously is circumstantial, depends what it is, what we're talking about. But for the majority of things, you can work on yourself. You can go and get help if needed, to go to the fucking hospital, work with a therapist, a psychiatrist, whatever the case may be, or go with a close loved one that you feel comfortable with. Go work out instead of doing drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? Like, there's many things that you can do in order to self-develop yourself in a positive and good way. And most importantly, if you want to succeed and you want to thrive, again, you have all the examples, whether if it's athletes, history, whatever the case may be, it is there. It is there. So there's no excuses. There's no excuses, but it's as simple what
Exactly.
Jay was saying before. It's the fact
Yeah,
that people
no
have
excuses.
given up. They've given up. They take shit for granted. They're lazy, okay? And they're ignorant and they're incompetent, okay? And that's what it is at the end of the day. And I don't know how it even got to this point too, but people are extremely sensitive and emotional. They're extremely sensitive and emotional. And that alone is a problematic and an issue. That should not be the case either. We should have resilience.
Dude,
we should have self-control. Okay,
Yep.
we should have structure. We should have discipline. Okay, because without those things, then society goes to fucking chaos, as what we're seeing now, and things getting worse and worse
Crumbles.
and worse. Because we're not even enforcing accountability either. We're just playing the fucking blame game and pointing fingers of who's at fault, whatever. When at the end of the day, it's very simple concepts, and it's the people's fault at the end of the fucking
exactly.
day. You know. So again. It's very simple elements, you know.
Yeah. So what Furton said, I'll read all the rest of the comments. It's well said. I agree. I hope someday we get past idealistic views of nature. That's exactly what it is. Not even idealistic, unrealistic.
Yeah.
For mainstream media to continuously iterate to young men, oh, you're perfect the way you are. You know, you should be soft. You should be vulnerable. If you know you're special, that's bullshit. That's a dangerous precedent because people then feel that they're entitled to things they don't deserve.
Yep.
In the real world, no one gives a fuck. If you're a piece of shit, fat fuck, incompetent loser, you're not gonna get hired for that job or get that girl or get into that school or lift that weight. That's not the word. That's not the way reality works.
No.
If you don't think that's the case, go ahead and try to do something great and see how far you get. You're not gonna get very far. When that has to stop being continuously shoved down young men's throats. And unfortunately, whether you like these people or not, that's why people like Tate have come to power. That's why Charlie has come to power. That's what, well, R.I.P. Charlie, but that's why he came to power. That's why these guys are becoming
Because they take reality for what it is.
Are noticing
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because what's happening is reality is hitting them in the face. Nature is hitting them in the face. Mainstream media is lying to them. Mainstream media is telling them the unrealistic aspect of what nature really is. And when they get hit in the face and they eat shit, they look for guidance somewhere else. Again, Tate, Charlie, Shapiro, Peterson, all these guys, they're looking to guide. I'm not. And you know, there's probably mentors out there that aren't good people, I'm sure. Like the radicalized red pill, whatever you want to call it, that exists as well.
Yep.
So all these men are seeking guidance, and the ones that aren't, like that piece of shit that's Charlie, their mind is warped. Their emotions are the sole dictator of the decision making. That's extremely dangerous. Logic is out the window for those kind of people.
Yep.
Yeah, you probably have mental illness. I don't give a fuck. That's not an excuse. Everyone has a flawed brain. If you allow your mind to diminish and and how it makes decisions, your health, you're gonna gain a mental illness. I think the mind is more powerful than people realize. If you go to the gym, if you're disciplined, your mind will be very healthy. You will not get
Jay. There's a pattern. Jay, there's a pattern that you're saying right now. There's a fucking pattern that you're saying right now. You know how you said it's not an excuse, whatever, blah, blah? Because it's simply fucking not. Whether if it's mental health, whether if it's social media, whatever the fucking case may be, it's not a fucking excuse, okay? Unless you're that very low percentage of people where they're actually fucking psychotic, like insanity, you know what I mean? To where they have to live in a fucking mental asylum, right? You know what I mean? Then that is justified an excuse, you know what I mean? Or if you have a fucking condition where, like, you know what I mean, you like, let's say you're fucking missing legs, like, you can't fucking walk, right? You know what I mean, or whatever, and so on and so forth. Like, so we're not saying shit like that, but
real excuse.
but at the end of the day, that's not what it is. People are fucking delusional, okay? And the majority of people are on average, okay. The shit that they're like trying to make excuses for or whatever, it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. You're not to the extreme. You're not to the fucking extreme. You know what I mean? If you were, you wouldn't even be a fucking civilian then. You wouldn't be doing what you're fucking doing, basically, you know? So if you're not to that extreme, it's not a fucking excuse. And the leg example I gave, what people do is, they immediately jump to the thing is, oh, well, I'm missing a leg, well, I'm fucked, whatever, blah, blah, this and that. No. Guess what? You can get a fucking robotic leg, okay? You could, but guess what? There's a dude, I forgot his name, where he had no legs, so he would strengthen his whole body, his arms, his chest, his everything else. He would strengthen it to the max and work his ass off to where he's fucking outrunning people that have legs with his arms. You know, like perseverance has to be enforced. You know what I mean? Or not? I wouldn't say enforced. It has to be fucking utilized and encouraged. You know what I mean? That is the issue. We can't give up. We can't let mental health issues win. Again, the resources are there. The ability, you alone, your willpower is there. So again, with the pattern that Jay is going, he's trying to explain it though in detail, whatever. But the main point with it is there's no excuse. Period. You know what I mean? Because when we start letting the excuses thrive and win, then that's when everything goes to fucking shit. You know? So.
Yeah, people don't realize what real limitations are in first world conditions. Guys, children in Israel and Palestine getting blown up. Fucking third world countries where fucking little kids have nothing to drink. They have real excuses.
North Korea, you play a song every
fucking day.
You play a song in North Korea,
North Korea,
and you die.
You lose your life. Those people have a real excuse. Here in modern Western civilization, if you're in it, if you're lucky enough to be born in it, because statistically that's not very high, you have no fucking excuse. If you have working legs, again, if you have a brain that's intact and you're in modern Western civilization, you have no excuse not to become the best version you could be. I think in my opinion, that's winning for anyone. Maybe you're not a fucking billionaire, maybe you're not fucking Elon Musk, but if you reach your full potential or damn near close to it and you're constantly driving towards that, you're a winner. Fuck the amount of money you have, you're a winner. If you're constantly, the drive is relentless, you're always going at it, you're gonna be a winner. I promise you, you're gonna be a winner. You're gonna stand down in some shape or fashion, because today competition is lacking. Competition is probably as low as it's ever been, unfortunately, because again, mainstream media is
everything's getting worse, Jay. Everything.
Bullshit.
No. Like GPAs are getting lower. People's intelligence in schools, their grades are getting lower. Everything is getting lower and lower and lower.
Literacy.
And then we're getting more violence and we're getting more problems and things are escalating further. Every single aspect and category in life is getting fucking worse. And again, because people are doing the wrong fucking things. You know what I mean? Everything we're talking about, that's the fucking problem. And that is why, that's how we've gotten to where we are at the end of the day, with the fundamental question of what I asked Jay and everything we're talking about. That's why the fucking shit is the way it is. Because we're not approaching reality for what it is, okay? And we're not growing up, okay? You know what I mean? And getting the fuck up. When you fall, what do? You get back up. You know what I mean? And you keep pushing forward, okay? And you go with what life gives you at the end of the fucking day. And you do your absolute best and do what you need to do. And keeping your humanity. Keeping, you know what I mean, your fucking love for the world and the positivity. You keep all the good attributes, all the good qualities. You know what I mean? Regardless of the negativity, regardless of the obstacles you go through, regardless of all that. That doesn't matter, okay? You focus on the good and you pursue you pursue the good and the success, and you go through the bad and you beat it. That's the goal. That's what everyone's goal should be, okay? And if there's something that is not an actual limitation, if there's something that you can endure, right? If you can endure it, such as words, I'll give an example. You know what I mean? If you can endure it, okay, then there's no problem with it. Because at the end of the day, it boils down to you, to what you take out of it, okay? And you have the same ability to combat that person as well. The same ability, the same effort. There's nothing else different. Could that person potentially be a little bit more ahead of you or whatever? Sure. But that's not an excuse either. Then that means you got a lot of catching up to do. That means you got a lot of fucking work to do, okay? And you keep going and you go from there. We have ways to confront, okay, issues the right way and by the book. You have the resources, you have the ability to, so do it the right way. Violence is not the right way. Political violence is not the right way. Murder and guns are not the right way. Never, because it just makes things fucking worse.
Never.
You know?
Yeah, there will be a chain effect. There will be a negative chain effect. Whether it's tomorrow, next year, 100 years from now.
Civil War, whatever it is.
There will be a chain effect, I promise you.
Yep.
Yeah, there will be. And this is what I'll say. I guess this is more of a personal thing. The way that the greatest men I've met in my life personally all have that same drive. And here's another thing I want to add. If you're young, and I'm sure most of you guys watching this are young, you have to have the right why. And for the majority of people, it's not just money alone. I'm not saying don't earn money. I'm saying money alone, materials alone for your own immediate gratification is not enough. You need the right why. And in my opinion, again, it's all opinionated, is others. Your fucking mom, your dad, your family. What's going on, Sir Goes? I appreciate you, brother. $10. We'll go ahead and read this real quick. I appreciate you, brother. Much love.
Appreciate you.
Been a minute since I've done this. No worries, brother. You've always given love. Y'all hanging on through these tough times. Same for everyone in the chat. Amen, brother. I appreciate you. Much love to Sir Goats, man. But like I was saying, you need the right why. In my opinion, like I said, it's others. It's maybe you have a child. Your parents are getting older. Your girl, your wife, your man, your husband, whatever the fuck it is. I guarantee you, all the bullshit
That's what
that
you
could
should
be an
invest your
excuse, you won't
energy
give a
into,
fuck.
by the way.
When you get up, you go
Family,
to work, you
your
put your shoes up.
kid, your wife, or a lover or
Yeah,
love, significant other.
family.
That's the shit you invest your energy to. Your fucking business, your loved ones. That's what you fixate
That's
and invest
all you
into.
should.
Yep.
Yeah,
Simple.
yeah. And this is the reality, at least when it comes to me. I've seen guys like this, and I mean, I'm biased. I'm gonna say I'm the same way. Guys that have that drive, everything else is white noise. Fucking I'm not
Yep.
gonna say I don't care about politics and RP Charlie Kirk, but everything else outside is white noise. There's some stuff I care about, some stuff I'll debate about, sure, but I'm not gonna go out of my way and spew hate. Even if, let's say, hypothetically, God willing, that God forbid this never happened, someone that is on the left dies, I'm not left. I wouldn't go out and say, "Oh fuck yeah, he's dead." Fuck no.
No.
I'm gonna give my condolences
Anyone.
and keep pushing.
Anyone. It doesn't
So
matter who the
I'm gonna
person
keep pushing.
is. It's a
Yeah,
human life. And that's what people don't fucking understand. This is for
human life,
anybody.
decent human
Just to
life.
clarify, and I hope this was really clear from the get go and from
Yep.
everything I've been sending on my Discord, Twitter, whatever, and then even as of now of us talking now. Anybody, any life, okay? The only exception is obviously like fucking Hitler, right? Who is actually enforcing his
Yeah,
views
yeah.
and
Ted
doing
Bundy.
atrocities and doing fucking yeah, or a serial killer. Like, come on, use your fucking, you know what I mean? Like, it's common sense, okay? Those are the only exceptions because there's always the exception to the rule, right? That's for anything, okay? But we're not fucking talking about that. We're not talking about a serial killer. We're not talking about fucking some country invading us. We're not talking about fucking Hitler shit or whatever. We're talking about freedom of speech. We're talking about fucking someone having their views and talking and so on and so whatever you name it, whether regardless you disagree with it, whether they're good or bad or not, whatever the fucking case may be. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, there's good and bad in anything. There's good and bad in the left. There's good and bad in the fucking right. There's good and bad fucking everywhere, anywhere. Good and bad can never be
Logs.
separate. It's
Yep.
everywhere. Like, and what I mean by that, to really specify that too. So let's say for someone that we know is obviously good, right? Like fucking like whatever organization is or whatever. Even if you know it's very very good, there could still be someone in that organization that's bad, that's making them look bad. You know what I mean? Or twisting their views or what they're saying or what they're trying to do, and so you know what I mean. Like that's another thing you guys also don't like think of too. Like all because certain people are doing certain things, that doesn't mean it automatically now equates and connects to the movement itself or that person itself and so on and so forth. Those are two fucking different things, you know? So like again, like we have to just really, really be smart and be patient and really analyze and be critical when we're thinking and seeing and comprehending things. You gotta fucking think, man, you know? But yeah, it's, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and what I've seen, like going back to what I was saying, yeah, the greatest men I know all have that same why, the right why, and to them it's win or die trying. Everything else, like I said, is white noise. Yeah, we have our beliefs in politics. We might disagree, agree, whatever. That's white noise. To be the best man you can be, to be a great man, you have the right why, you have the right purpose. Everything else falls into place. Whether you think it's because of God, because of obviously hard work is part of it, but the universe rewards those who do what others don't. And another weird thing I see is this idea, this sort of shaming of working hard. Oh, you're a try hard. Oh, this guy thinks he's all that. You're damn right, I'm a try hard. Why wouldn't I try hard? Why wouldn't you encourage that? If you're an influencer, a content creator, and you're seeing a guy going at it as hard as he can, why shame that? Why is that a bad thing? I don't understand that. Everyone should try to dominate. Everyone should try to win. Why would you put someone down because of that?
Yeah.
Because you're not. Because you're
Like that
you're
you're going that's
subpar.
going
When you look in the
backwards.
fucking mirror, you're not happy with
That's
it.
going
It's too
backwards,
bad.
not forward,
Yeah, it's going
backwards.
backward. You're looking in the mirror, man. Look at the mirror. That's the problem. A lot of men don't want to look in the mirror. Even people with influence. A lot of people that have influence, including some high-profile streamers, probably other individuals, they don't like what they see in the mirror. Yeah, they have a lot of money. Yeah, they have a lot of people watching them. All those guys aren't happy with who they are, and then they shame other people that are great. It's very strange to me. It's very weird to me. It's probably another reason why there's political division, because maybe someone else on the other side of the spectrum is doing so well, and they're just this great guy with great integrity, and because they're that and you're not, you're like, oh fuck this guy. Like
Yep.
that's resentment, that's envy, because you're not the man you want to be. So I'll always encourage winning and all that, because I know in the anime community, our community specifically, that's almost looked down upon. It's almost looked down upon when you're very intelligent,
Yeah.
you're very well spoken, when you go out of your way to really do your research. People are like, "Oh my God, this guy's cringe." No, I just work harder than you. That's what it is. I do more than you. If you don't like that, then beat me. Beat
Yep.
me. Instead
Yep.
of that's how the real way you're gonna get my respect and people's other
And
respect.
you
Beat me.
and
That's the
Jay,
way the
you want to
world
know why
operates.
you want to know why it
Winners win.
operates like that?
So,
You want to know why it operates like that? Because that's what ensures competence, because you're getting what you deserve and earn. Because think of our history in previous generations, they got to where they were at because they earned it. You know what I mean? Like they whether they took it by force, whatever the fuck they did, whether they worked their ass off, they got it, right? They had to make action and effort to get what they need. You don't just get it by sitting on your fucking ass or just, oh, I just deserve it too, right? Like, that's not how it works. Reality has never been like that. Reality has never been. If you want to get a job, you can't just sit at fucking home and just do nothing. No, you got to put in applications. You got to have a good resume. You got to fucking ace your interview. You got to do all this shit. You know what I mean? And then when you get a job, when you have a job, how do you keep the job? By having good work ethic, right? By having good social skills, getting along with people, so on and so forth, doing what you gotta fucking do, right? You know what I mean? And that's another issue too. If people had the same mindset of how they are when they're at fucking work, of the shit they wouldn't do and whatever and so on and so forth, if they apply that to their fucking life too, I promise you your life would be tremendously fucking better. Because the things that we have to be disciplined in, whether it's school or your job or whatever, or your profession or your business, things that we have to be disciplined in and make sure we're being competent in. Because if we're not, then you're fucked and it all falls apart. You know what I mean? You have to take that same energy, those same establishments and cores and points and principles, and apply that even to your life, into what you do and from what you're observing, into how you respond to it. You have to. Because when you don't, then it does the complete opposite in the fucking 180 spectrum, and then that's when everything just goes to fucking shit, or your life becomes complicated, and so on and so forth, and then basically you're just at a loss. You don't know what to fucking do, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why companies and jobs are structured the way they are. There's a reason why our militaries are the way they are. There's a reason why for a lot of fucking things, and again, it's there for a reason. You know what I mean? So you can't take shit for granted. You have to accept reality for what it is. And again, even if it's something that's wrong in reality, even if it's wrong, you can't change that, right? Like, you don't have fucking omnipotence or powers. You have to adapt, and you have to confront and fight it the right way. Don't become it to fight it, because that doesn't make you any fucking better. And that's what everyone's doing. They're taking the easy route. They're taking the shortcut, because it's like, oh, okay, I'll just do the same. No, that's what causes more problems, and that's why everything is getting to the point it's fucking getting. Again, you have to fight it. You have to confront it the right way. Be resilient. Be patient. Be self-controlled. If they're yelling and getting emotional and insulting you, good for fucking them, okay? Keep your composure. Say whatever you had to say. Express the facts. Have your arguments. Substantiate whatever. And who's going to look like the fucking clown? They are, okay? Who's more than likely going to get shot or hurt or whatever? The other person. Not the emotional one and the crazy one. Because everyone's accepting with that and fine with that, but not the person that's doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So, like, again, like, that's when you know you are doing something right, when you are making an impact. When someone has to go to violence, to those extremes, that's because they deem you as a threat. And that's because they're a fucking piece of shit as well, and they're a loser. Okay? Because they know no matter what, it's an auto concession, basically. They accepted it, right? They're like, okay, I can't fucking beat this guy, or nobody can get what you name it, so I'm just gonna fucking kill him. Cause it's the pussy fucking move that is what they do. Okay, so again, like, we have to be better. We have to be better, and we have to be fucking smarter. Okay, reality, it's as simple as you have to accept it for what it is, and even if you may think you know how things work, or whatever your reality is and percent, remember the Itachi quote. Okay, that doesn't mean it's necessarily the case. Be open. Okay, be smart. Be wise. Be diligent. Okay. And if you keep those mindsets and you're humble, you're doing what you got to do, you work your ass off, that's great. And your life is going to reflect that, okay? And at that point, you can flex it all you fucking want. You can talk all you want. You can do whatever you want, because you fucking earned it at the end of the day. And who gives a rat's ass what they're saying, how they feel, nobody cares. You know what I mean? Because you got what you deserve, right? And you're doing what you need to fucking do. And you're better at the end of the fucking day. It's that simple,
Exactly.
One, I will say this though, Jace. Before,
simple.
before we dive off the Charlie Kirk incident and the repercussions and everything that we were talking about that's connected to that, I did wanted to show a really short clip. 'Cause this is related to Charlie Kirk, and then we can move on to like modern political tribalism or anything along with that, the anime community and stuff like that. I know you want to talk about hate speech at some point too, and whatnot. What's considered inciting violence rhetorically, and shit like that. So this is important because this clip technically connects not only to Charlie to end this, stop talking about him, but it also connects to what is hate speech, what is considered inciting violence rhetorically. So it'd be a good way to approach and get into that. And then eventually towards the end we could talk about gun control and whatnot too, which that's a lot more simple and easy to do. Because that, at least to me, I don't know about you, Jay, gun control is very simple. People just fucking make it so complicated when they don't fucking need to, But I'm gonna stream this real quick, Jay.
It's pretty simple.
I'm gonna stream this real quick.
Okay.
For you, this way you can see it too, and we can end off the Charlie Kirk thing, and then this also connects to the next talking points we get into, which is what is hate speech and what is considered inciting violence rhetorically. Because apparently a lot of the claims and allegations with this person, with Charlie, was that, he has hate speech or he's inciting violence, and all this shit, all kinds of shit I fucking heard. And I only did my homework just for a couple minutes and a little bit, and I looked at a couple things and I was immediately able to fucking realize it was bullshit and so on and so forth. Now, could there be things that are true? Sure, not denying that. There was even one thing I did confirm and saw, even the full context, and I don't agree with it, but again, I'm not going to fucking kill him for it either. But the only thing that he did say that I thought was, I don't know about that one, Chief, because he's religious, because he's a Christian, okay, is if his daughter was like pregnant, right, like 10 years old, because I'm gonna ask him if she was 10 years old and she got pregnant and like raped or whatever, okay, would you would you force her to keep the baby? And because of his religion and his views, he said yes. Okay, that I don't necessarily agree with. I think that's a whole other thing, whatever.
I disagree with that.
But at the end of the day, that's all I could find at most. And remember, I haven't seen everything either, but I'm just saying the bare minimum. Now, as for the racist thing, bullshit. As for the fucking, for the gun allegation where he says, where people are saying he just thinks people should just die by guns, whatever, bullshit. Okay, so I confirmed a couple other things, but I'm going to show this really quick clip and just wait for Jay to see it. And, again, this is an example, but yet this person apparently supports violence, supports, to shoot people and all this crazy shit or whatever and so on and so forth. So let me play this real quick.
Mr. Kirk, I'm a student here.
Can you hear it, Jay?
I really appreciate you being here today to speak with us.
Yeah.
I care a lot about protecting children and know that you value life as well. I understand that mental health and drug issues are a big part of the violence that we see every day in America. And I know that there's no black and white solution, but wouldn't implementing stronger background checks, especially for high-powered weapons like AK-47s, be a more reasonable and effective step to prevent school shootings and protect the children?
Sure, fine. So first of all, it is very difficult to purchase an AK-47. You're probably talking about an AR-15. That's probably what you're talking about, which is not an AK-47. We do have those back.
So that right there, you see how he was respectful correcting her, Jay? I mean, he wasn't insulting her. He wasn't, trying to be egotistical. Respectful. So again, even when he's correcting someone, he's being respectful.
Background checks in a lot of states. I do have to ask, do you feel safe in California walking the streets at night in Los Angeles as a woman?
It depends which area.
How about right near the downtown convention center?
Not necessarily, no.
So remember, our goal is a safe society, so just stricter gun laws.
Right there. What did he just say? He just said, our goal, him directly, his movement, is a safer society. So you're already hearing contradicting views and information and stuff that he's saying. Okay, and this is not the only clip too. There's many clips where he says the same fucking thing, same rhetoric, whatever, blah blah. But yet people get to the point where they view him as a fascist, or they view him as, he apparently supports people to get shot or whatever and killed, like, and all this crazy bullshit, whatever. But yet I'm gonna continue playing the rest of this short clip. He's literally saying contradicting information. And again, this is the point what I'm trying to get at. Like, I don't understand how people come to the narratives and conclusions they get to. Because if you would just do your fucking homework and look and whatnot, you would see that the complete opposite is what's being expressed with this particular person. But, I'm going to continue it.
Does not always equal a safer society. That's just number one.
Yeah,
And
that's what I said. That's why I said that. I know that mental health is a big issue.
Huge.
But I just, for instance, I have a 10-year-old little sister, and every day me and my parents stress about sending her to school for what could happen to her. So
it's a real question. Let me ask you, does that school have an armed guard?
I'm not entirely
That's
sure.
why you're stressing.
That's a fair point.
Why do we protect our banks, our airports, and our sports stadiums with people with guns, but not our schools?
Valuable.
I think that's a fair point, and that
And I'm not discounting, the background check thing, but it's incredible moral perversion. You can't get in a Dodger Stadium without seeing 50 cop cars and people with guns everywhere. You can't go to LAX without going through basically a demilitarized zone. But you could go into a local Long Beach elementary school, and we decide to not protect our kids, so we protect our airplanes and our sports teams, but we don't protect our own children. And so you care about protecting children. I think that we should
But not
basically
kids,
lock down these schools. People say, oh, I don't want our schools to be militarized. Well, then you don't want to protect our kids? You don't think you want...
So that's all I have to play for that particular clip. Again, it's really short, but right there, Jay, I'm going to ask you, because it doesn't take even a super intelligent person either. Was that not contradicting information? He's clearly advocating for fucking, to protect human life, to avoid violence, and to protect kids at schools, and calling out the bullshit even within our country with the U.S., where why we apply all this security, all this protection for all these other things, materialistic or bullshit, but we don't protect our kids and have the same fucking energy. I don't get it. What do you think on that?
Those that have said, those that have claimed. Yeah, those that have claimed that he, exactly what they said, I'm not sure. They say he said that it's necessary for, individuals in school to be gunned down for the sake of the Second Amendment. That's obviously incorrect. He's literally contradicting what they said. Not contradicting that literal claim they made by saying kids should be protected and they shouldn't be gunned down with an armed guard. I think what happened is they would use clips out of context and just use a simple statement that makes it seem that way.
Yep.
Or they're just blatantly lying about what he said. He clearly doesn't believe that. It's
I just played the clip. I just played the fucking clip.
Used.
I literally just played. He clearly does not believe in that. So how do people get to that fucking? So then it brings you back to the real question, right? So then there has to be context, obviously, right? So because we're not denying there is a statement that was made, but that's be context, right? And so I'm going to give an example to really simplify it for anyone, so this way nobody's lost or confused. Okay, if I'm communicating right now, right, and listen to me right now verbatim. Okay, let's say I say this exactly. I think unfortunately it's at a cost, but we have to lose lives when it comes to guns. Okay. And that's all I say right there, right? That's the only statement. Okay, because people will record a 10-second clip of that, and that's what I just said. But I'm going to continue now. Under the principle and fact where you're using self-defense to protect your loved ones or to protect yourself, and under the fact that we have a right for the Second Amendment. Okay? So I said additional information, so on and so forth, right? Which is the complete context. But if you only take the first thing I just said, okay, obviously anyone rationally, whatever, and so on and so forth is going to be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Did you really just say a human life should just be taken by guns? But then when you listen to the rest of what I was fucking saying, when I'm clearly talking about self-defense as a concept, and then us having the right to be able to bear arms, to be able to use guns responsibly, to protect our loved ones as well, like the military, you name it, whatever, or to go to a gun range and shoot and learn, and for fun or whatever, so on and so, rights that we deserve, right? It's not a fucking privilege, it's a right, fucking, when you listen to all that, it's very clear as day of what I'm fucking saying. It was the same shit with him. I'm not going to play that whole clip because I think it's 3 or 4 minutes fucking long, but that was basically what happened with him. He started it off with what he said, and then he explained the why, and so on and so forth. And he explained because of self-defense, whatever, it being our Second Amendment. And then he even on top of it says, at the end of the day, it's impossible to get rid of guns, right? To get rid of gun violence and death, that will always be a thing. And that's true. Look at drugs, for an example. Yep. Drugs are illegal. Sure. Crime is illegal. Okay, there's so many examples of things that are illegal or that you shouldn't be doing or you have limited access to. Yet people still find a way to get it. People still find a way to do it. Okay, and it just gets worse, if anything. You know what I mean? So again, Like he says that it's impossible to get rid of. So therefore, if you can't get rid of it, because that's just the reality of it, right? If you can't get rid of guns, and it's always going to cause violence, unfortunately, then what we should do is reduce the deaths. What we should do is protect our kids at schools, have security details, have background checks, have gun detectors at every entrance and exits, okay, and so on and so forth. He's literally saying all those things right after that statement. But yet people come to the conclusion, oh, he thinks people should just be killed with guns. That's the shit I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And that was one of the allegations. And I'm not going to list names.
Definitely miscontextualizing what he's saying.
Yeah, and I'm not going to list names out of respect, you know, because I'm not trying to stir the pot either. But there was certain individuals that were literally saying, oh, yeah, quoting the statement of the gun thing, where he thinks people should just be gunned down, and that's it, for our right, and he doesn't care if people get killed. He didn't say that. He never fucking said that. There's a statement that is what you are quoting, but then he explains why and so on and so forth, you know, and then on top of it, literally says contradicting information that he clearly values human life and what we need to do in order to fix it, because we can at least apply moderation, right? You know what I mean? Or reduce the issue itself at hand, you know, and things like that. So again, like, I wanted to kind of show that clip because it's a perfect example of where people just don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they're clearly either emotional or biased, or they're clearly, I don't know, fucking just hearing misinformation. You know what I mean? Just bullshit. Again, Google exists, guys. YouTube exists. You want to know how I just found that clip? I literally went on the search bar on Facebook and typed Charlie Kirk gun rights. First clip I see. I mean, like it's not hard, guys. You're like, it's not fucking difficult. And then I eventually saw the clip where it came into that one thing where everybody was using to paint a false narrative, saying, oh, he thinks people should just get shot for the Second Amendment. You know what I mean? That's not true. When you listen to everything, it's a bunch of bullshit. You know? Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, no, you're good. Whether it's unintentional or intentional, people that are, you know, that are participating in that are falsifying his beliefs, essentially. Again, whether unintentional or intentional, they're falsifying what he's saying. They are basically lying about what his beliefs are, whether, again, intentional or unintentional. And that's illogical to do. You should attempt to do your research to actually legitimately know what he believed, what he was iterating to the masses when he was doing his college tours prior to his death. That's the right way to do your research. Now, if you're just simply emotionally biased and want to misconstrue what he says to make him look like Hitler, like a lot of people are trying, that's disingenuous. That's in poor taste, especially after the extreme traumatic event that just transpired with his death.
Yeah.
Do your research. And if you really do believe that he said something that you thought he said, then prove it. Show an entire full context clip of what was him saying those words, and then, hey, we'll all believe it because it's a fact. So with that being said, this will jump us into the next thing, and that being speech. The idea that people are saying he promoted hate speech and incited violence. From my understanding, I've never seen a clip where he's blatantly doing that.
No.
Again, I haven't seen every single hour, every single minute of everything he said, but yeah. But I guarantee, if that were the case, the amount of people that are just celebrating his death would have already posted it everywhere, widespread on social media. So from my understanding, that's not the case. So what is actual incitements of violence? It's blatant statements that are telling others to cause harm upon a person or a group of people. That's actual incitements of violence.
Hitler.
Now, yeah. Hitler literally was telling the people that their race is superior and all the races should perish.
Yep.
With Charlie, it's an extreme false equivalency. He is simply giving his beliefs on perhaps groups of people.
Yep. Gun rights, trans, abortions.
What people are doing. Yep. Yeah. And what people are doing is trying to claim that his intention behind those statements is definitively to cause harm upon these groups of people. That's fallacious, and here's why. An analogy I'll use is a court of law. In a court of law, you're essentially having a professional debate about laws and ethics.
Yep.
For someone to be correct, they must their claim must be true beyond a reasonable doubt. Meaning, the jury and the judge must have enough, I believe, assurance that what whether it's the lawyer, the prosecutor, the defense, or the prosecution is saying is true beyond a reasonable doubt. That applies here. So to say that this guy is inciting violence with statistics or whatever the case may be is it's disingenuous, and you can't prove it definitively because he's not blatantly stating, "Oh, attack these XYZ, attack them." That's disingenuous, and it's not hate speech. You cannot prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And I would argue that the very following he's amassed before his death proves otherwise. For him to have, I've seen it even personally. Being with my career, I see people everywhere. I've seen from young kids to grown veterans support this guy, people that aren't stupid, people that have seen real war, people that are very competent. And again, that doesn't necessarily prove that he's perfect. No one is. But the point is, if he was legitimately spewing hate speech, the 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 average middle-aged American wouldn't be following him, and a lot of his following was very politically interested middle-aged Americans, centrist Americans. Again, that's not the case for his entire group of followers, but it was widespread. And again, you cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was ever spewing incitements of violence. I've never seen an example.
Nope.
Most people from the left and right aren't doing that, unless it's Antifa or something, some radicalized group, which Charlie doesn't fall under.
Yeah.
So it's disingenuous to claim that, and it's disrespectful again, especially considering how he was eliminated. People saying it's ironic. He died and he thought we should have guns.
He's advocating against it. It's not ironic. He was advocating against what happened to him the entire time. Yeah,
you know,
like and you guys misinterpret his words. You know what I mean? Because of either because of IQ issues, and I'm not trying to be mean. Some people just have limited intelligence. Okay, whether if it's an IQ issue or if it's just simply ignorance and incompetence. Okay, whichever one it is, you guys are misinterpreting what he's fucking getting at, disregarding the context, and either purposely doing that or you just didn't mean to. But that's what I'm saying. You need to fucking pay attention. Okay, because your incompetence doesn't dictate the reality of the perception that you're trying to paint, is what I'm fucking basically getting at, you know? Because again, as we said before with the fucking example, when we're talking about him, when he was talking about the gun shit and whatnot, if you're listening to everything he's saying, he's clearly saying contradicting fucking information. So there's no way you could come to that conclusion if he's saying contradicting information. You know what I mean? Like look up what contradiction means definition wise, but it's not rocket science. And you don't even have to be super intelligent. Yeah. But if you do something that contradicts something, right, there's no way that can be the case then. It's literally impossible, you know? So, what's it called? So,
people labeling him, people labeling him as racist, bigot, mega evil. You gotta prove these claims.
Yep.
You gotta prove that that's the case. I haven't seen any examples of anything that would substantiate those people have been saying about him. I need full context clips here. That's what I would need. And that just hasn't been widespread on social media.
No.
Just simple tweets about what people think of him is what has gone viral. That's ironic. Why is it ironic? Show me a clip, show me proof that he actually wanted violence with guns.
No, Jay, they'll show you the 10-second clip. They'll show you the 10-second fucking clip, or they'll show you a quote of one statement, but not the full context. You know, like it's every time, it's every fucking time. You know, and
so before we go to the Q&A, before we go to the general Q&A, we'll go to gun control. That transition us into that. Gun control, what should be clearly, this is highly debated. Now, when it comes to what I believe is, an optimal gun control legislative system is there has to exist guns amongst good citizens. Why? Because there are over 300 to 400 million guns in this nation alone, and you remove guns from good citizens, you forcibly remove them through legislation. Those that don't care about law will continue to have them, and criminals will have an advantage.
And you have no way to protect yourself.
Let's say that family across the street that has children. There's no protection. There's no security, and any criminal can walk in knowing, because they know the laws, they don't have a gun. I'm in the advantage. I can take their belongings. I can take their life because they don't have the means to protect themselves. That's illogical. That's illogical, and this idealistic fantasy that we could take all guns away, it's impossible. It's impossible. Not only will you have criminals in hiding, you'd probably have citizens not allowing you to take their guns. They're going to say, you want to take my gun? You're going to have to kill me. I'm not going to give you my gun because it protects my family, protects my valuables, protects my legacy. You're going to have to take it from me. That's why it's in the Constitution. It's in the Constitution that if the government were to ever become tyrannical, citizens would have to act accordingly. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing what it says. The reason for that is because what makes a country isn't the government, it's the people.
Yeah.
The government is simply overseeing the people legislatively, enforcing regulation for the greater good, or at least it should be. That's what a government should do. They need to protect themselves from, like the Constitution says, from threats both foreign and domestic. That's why guns need to exist.
Yep.
Now, of course, there are going to be fatalities.
Yep.
Nothing's perfect. No system's
And,
perfect.
and Jay, that's
Let's
why
I'm not gonna get too political.
that's why Charlie made that statement. It's unfortunate, but that's why he said the statement. It's unfortunate, but that's why we have the cost of lives being taken, unfortunately, by guns because of what you're getting into, and that's why he believes in the Second Amendment. You know what I mean? So again, it's like I don't get it. I don't get how people can't understand that.
Like, understand that to battle that very fact, there needs to be protection, and of course, there should be a system, a very rigorous system of checks and balances. Of course, not some fucking psycho should be going to a gun store and just buy it right off,
Nope.
right off the fucking counter.
That's ridiculous.
Obviously not. There should be background checks,
Yep.
psychological evaluations, and Charlie obviously stood for that. We just saw the clip where he fucking said it. So clearly, there has to be a system in place for protection. There has to be, I do believe, in schools, again, maybe hide it from the kids, have the armed guard in some isolated room so kids don't see guns around.
Yep.
That's fine. But there should be an armed person on campus, whether they're hiding somewhere in some room where little kids can't see it and get scared. There has to be protection. Again, like Charlie made a good point. Why the fuck do banks have armed guards, but a fucking school with the most innocent demographic we have exposed? Like
An NFL game has fucking an NFL game has a platoon of fucking police everywhere, every dozens fucking ready to go, but not a school, not schools with fucking kids. Like it's fucking crazy. Like, I'm sorry, but this is not even up for discussion. Like, this is just common sense, but we should always prioritize kids' safety over other fucking people. Always. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna clarify too and specify all life is fucking important. I'm not saying kids over adult whatever, because I don't want nobody twisting my words either. But unfortunately, that's not how the reality is. That's not how the fucking world works. And if we do have to pick between the two, you know damn well the kids should be the fucking priority, because that's not their fault. They don't deserve that. They're a fucking kid. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, we adults we can at least protect ourselves, okay? You don't need to have fucking security at an NFL fucking game when we're allowed to carry anyways, you know what I mean? Or we're allowed to defend ourselves anyways, right? You know what I mean? We have the ability to actually defend ourselves, not a fucking kid at school trying to learn math, you know? There's a big fucking difference. So the priority has to be the fucking kids, and we don't do that. But continue, sorry.
Yeah, children, you're good. Children are the most innocent and pure demographic we have. We need to protect them. They are the future of this country, literally. And to have banks with, again, armed guards while they're exposed like a nerve and some piece of shit can just walk in and shoot them up. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. And I don't care how radicalized you think people are for saying that. That's the case. They should have protection. They deserve it more than anyone.
Yeah.
They're innocent. They deserve to live a full and fulfilling life. And if anyone doesn't agree with that because, guns shouldn't be around, you're sorely mistaken.
You're naive. You're naive.
Ignorant.
You're very, very fucking naive. You're very fucking naive. Okay, because again, and I've said some stuff in my Discord. It's reality, guys. Like, I'm gonna say this real quick. We don't have a Naruto in our world. We don't have a fucking Batman and Superman in our world. We don't have fictional elements where that could just be the solution and there you fucking go, right? You know what I mean? We don't have a fucking Hashirama where he could force peace and there you go. You know, we don't have that. And then even when you extremely analyze even Naruto as an example, even though Naruto technically brought peace, look at Boruto. There's still dark shit going on. That's the most peaceful era it's ever going to be. But there was still dark shit going on. There was human trafficking going on with Kawaki and shit. There was still murder going on. There was still bad, dark shit in that world. Because you can't get rid of evil and violence. That's impossible. You know, even someone as strong as fucking Naruto, couldn't fucking do it. You know what I mean? And even conceded and acknowledged that to Pain as well with the whole speech he gave him. You know? So if even in the fiction world, if we can't fucking do it, but that's the closest you can get to it, right? To reduce... How the fuck do you think, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to do it. You know? Like, you have to understand reality for what it is. So we can only do as much as we can, right? And what Jay is saying as well on top of it, which is 100% true, and even Charlie said it in the fucking clip I just showed you guys, okay, what we can at least do is work on the things we do have control, or that is possible, right? And realistic in reality, which is, again, reducing gun deaths. And how can you do that? You have security detail at schools. You have gun detectors at every exit and entrance, wherever the fuck you can get in. You have a fucking a gun detector there, right? Okay. For the windows that can be broken into, whatever, they either need to be unbreakable fucking windows, or if they can get through, you have cameras and security detail at those weak points where the windows are. You know what I mean? So this way, if there's a threat, they can immediately be a fucking incapacitated or neutralized, okay? And so on and so forth. And even if they get as far to get in the window, and let's say they somehow kill the security detail, right? Okay, if you have a camera there and you have a security team using surveillance, using the cameras, because there's cameras at schools, but they don't fucking use them. They only use the cameras when a crime does happen, which is counterintuitive. You know what I mean? Because you're not preventing shit. You're just using it for evidence at that point. Okay.
Yep.
So instead, use the cameras for surveillance. Okay. To where, oh shit, this guy just killed our security detail right there. He broke into the window because he couldn't get in the front entrance because those are more heavy, whatever, blah blah. And gun detector, whatever, blah blah. Okay, well we know where he's at. Immediately, people are there and fucking converging to that location and apprehending the suspect. And guess what? Is that going to prevent death? No. Because there's no perfect solution. That's impossible. But that will significantly reduce mass shootings, though. Yeah, that will significantly save kids' lives. Okay? One kid's life to fucking thousands or hundreds is a lot better. Okay? You know what I mean? An adult's life compared to kids, okay, is a lot better than hundreds of fucking kids, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's a security officer. He knows what he's aware of too, right? He knows the job. He's there to protect, you know what I mean? Whatever you name it. So, like, again, like, morally speaking, just everything, it logically makes sense. Because at the end of the day, it comes to the single argument, okay, of the casualty argument, basically, right? If you can save more people, right? Why not do that method and option, okay? You know what I mean? Saving thousands and hundreds of lives is a lot better than losing one or two at most. You know what I mean? So it's just this is how it is. You know? Yeah. This is how it is. You know what I mean? Like fucking.
This is the reality we're in.
This is the reality it is. So again, like we can do those things, and if we did those things, I'm telling you, it would be resolved. But for some fucking reason, and Charlie even said it himself, and mind you, he loves America. You know, he's religious, whatever, blah blah, you name it. But yeah, for some fucking reason. But he at least called out the bullshit, and he did call out, you know, where U.S. is fucking up on priorities and shit, you know. But unfortunately, the U.S. doesn't do that. They don't prioritize. Instead, they'd rather invest billions and trillions of fucking dollars with other countries' bullshit, or with military technology and all this other fucking shit. When we have problems that we need to actually be investing that amount of money into, because we do have the money to do it. Like at the end of the day, it's not even about fucking money. We're trillions of dollars in debt, trillions. So it doesn't even fucking matter at that. Like, that's not an excuse. And they continue to invest money, and so much fucking money in all kinds of crazy things. All the billionaires we have in our world, they could easily work together and contribute. If there's a will, there's a fucking way. There's a way to fucking do it. But you want to know the problem is? Nobody fucking cares. That they don't care enough. They don't. They have other priorities. Yeah, and it is sad. It is fucking sad. Now, does that mean everyone doesn't care? No. Yes. There are people that do care, and they're to this day are fighting for that, right? You know what I mean? Charlie was one of them, okay? But, you know, ultimately, for some reason, it's not prioritized. And that is the best and easiest way to fix it, you know what I mean? For at least for schools, you know what I mean? Bare minimum, that can at least be fixed. Now, when it comes to gun violence itself, that's never going to change. That will never ever change. There's no way to even stop that. Like that's just not possible. No, all you could do is at least have your gun as well. This way you can protect yourself. You know what I mean? So if you are at a place or whatever, obviously if there's no alcohol or you're not drinking, you know, but let's say you're at a place or whatever, you name it, and there's a guy that comes in with a fucking AR, you having a pistol and shooting that person will save all those lives there. Immediately will save a life. Yep. A gun can also save life. Like you got people that are opposed to it. You're real quick to say, you know, to oppose to guns and say all the bad and all the cons or whatever, blah blah. But you don't even fucking, you know, understand the pros with it. Yeah, guns can take lives, sure, but they can also save lives. That's what you people don't understand. You know what I mean? And most importantly, that's important because
they blame the gun.
Yeah, exactly. They blame the fucking gun when it's the fucking human being at the end of the fucking day. And guns can save lives. So what we need to do, okay, is actually enforce people to have guns on them and to protect themselves, whatever, you know, and so on and so forth. Because that's the problem. People become so convinced, oh, we don't need guns or this or that or whatever, blah, blah, you name it. And then next thing you know, that's why so many people are getting killed. Because they can't even defend themselves. And they have a dude that's just fucking shooting them, you know? Like what do you do? You know what I mean? Like they can't protect themselves. You know what I mean? There's not fucking security detail there, right? You know, so so it's just they're fucked. They're literally fucked. We don't have superheroes, so they're fucked. You know, you know. So like again, no, we need to make sure people are doing that. And I don't. And the mixed martial arts argument, the mixed martial arts argument, or all this other shit or whatever. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Okay, that's fiction. That's nonsense. Okay, even unless you're special forces or a Marine, even that is questionable. But unless you're special forces, a Marine, or a UFC fighter, okay, and that is still questionable, you're not going to be able to beat a guy with a fucking AR with martial arts at a distance. That's not fucking possible. Okay, you wouldn't even be able to protect yourself. An average person, an average fucking person, okay, the majority of people in the human population, okay, they would not be able to defend themselves even against one fucking person. You think they could defend themselves against multiple people when they could struggle just the one? Okay? Like, we don't have badasses. We don't have vigilante fucking badasses. We don't have, not everyone's special forces, not everyone's a Marine, not UFC. That's not reality, okay? So, with that being said, that we need to have a gun to protect ourselves. Unless you just don't believe in killing someone, whatever, and that's fine. But you also have to be aware of the reality expectation that means you're putting your life at risk, though. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that person's not going to give a fuck. Yeah, you're the better person and you're a good-hearted person because you don't want to kill somebody. No. I respect that, but your life is at risk then, you know, and including your loved ones, you know. And I mind you guys, this is coming from someone. I'm talking about me, by the way, not Jay. I don't like guns. I don't think they should have ever been invented. I don't support. I wish they weren't around. But the problem is, even though that's my feelings on it, you know, and that's what I wish, the reality of it, though, is that's not the case. And it's in our fucking world. You know what I mean? And it's everywhere. Okay? So the fact that it's the reality, well, guess what? It is what it is. Because even though I don't like guns, I wish they weren't here. And I don't think we should have guns because of how humanity is. Okay? But unfortunately, that's not the reality we live in. So because of that, we have to adapt. And because of that, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying currently. And that's why Jay is saying what he's saying currently. Like, it's very, like, straightforward, too. Like, how do you beat air support? You beat air support with air support, right? Not on the fucking ground, right? You know what I mean? Like, how do you beat a gun with a gun? You use a fucking gun. How do you beat a fight to a fight? You use martial arts, right? You know what I mean? It's very straightforward, you know. So again, I think we hit it pretty well with the gun control thing. Unless you have more to say with that, Jay. But again, just to simplify, like, it's just learn to use a firearm to protect yourself, and then at least for schools, bare minimum, everything we said with that, you know. But
with our saying our piece with the dark times and the political landscape in America, logic needs to be utilized, no matter how emotional you are, for large scale macro type decisions that can literally influence an entire country, from gun control to abortion to freedom of speech. These things logic cannot be ignored, no matter how emotional, how much you hate someone, just because your echo chamber does too. You have to use logic to some extent. If you do not, logic will fall through the cracks.
Yep.
And that's when society crumbles.
Oh, Jay.
With that being said, so
I apologize, Jay, but just one quick example. Did you see the Fantastic Four movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear it, then you can skip just a little bit. But in that particular movie, actually, it's shown in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. But in that movie, they had to decide between either the baby's life, okay, or the entire fucking planet, right? And obviously, you know what I mean, like, no life should be taken, period, right? Morally speaking, whatever, like, that's wrong, whatever, blah, blah. But when Jay says logic, okay, and he's talking logical, what's the logical decision you do there? Okay? Do you act emotional and then everybody fucking dies and the baby's still taken? Or do you use logic and you have to survive and then give the fucking baby away, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? That's just like an example I'm giving, basically. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different because they're in a fiction world and they were at least able to defend and whatever and do shit, yada yada, if you've seen the movie. But point being said is that was a philosophy and morality moment that was implemented in that movie, to where the family were like, you know, fighting about it, arguing, the wife and Reed or whatever, and Reed Richards was at least understanding the human's perspective, you know, and the logical behind it. Like, you know, obviously he doesn't want his fucking kid to be sacrificed or nothing, you know, but he's like, I understand their anger. I understand what their logic and blah, blah, you name it, the whole fucking nine. So again, that's just one simple example, but like that applies to anything, any category, any concept, or whatever you name it, you know? So.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to use that logical part of your brain to, especially the important decisions, because they can have consequences if you don't. So, but with that being said, we'll jump to Q&A stuff. It could still be about this topic. I'll go through the chat and see if there's any. Again, shout out to Sir Goats for the donation. Appreciate that, brother. Let's see. Thoughts on people losing their jobs over speaking out against Kirk and celebrating his passing. Every corporation company has a right to run the company the way they deserve, the way they choose fit. I obviously, from my opinion, I don't have a problem with that.
Accountability.
It's very disrespectful and distasteful to do that kind of thing. And if I was a company, I'd do the same thing. Now, can you disagree? Sure. But again, when it comes to private corporations, they have the right to run it the way they want, and they pay the consequences whether they run it good or bad. So
hey Jay, remember freedom of speech.
They should have the right to do it.
Freedom of speech, but there's still consequences to it. You know. Remember when we were talking about that? You know what I mean? So freedom of speech, that's fine, yeah, but there's still consequences, you know. And again, and it's funny because it brings us all the way back. This is the irony in the hypocritical bullshit, okay, where people, you know, are saying that, but consequences of this, or Charlie's doing this, whatever, blah, blah. But yet, when you do it for your benefits or when it's convenient for you, now it's acceptable. Now no consequences should be done or whatever, and so on and so forth, you know? Like, it's like, come on. And then on top of it, it's also a false equivalence when he's literally saying things that are obviously not that are fine, right? You know what I mean? And then to where you're fucking over here glorifying his fucking death and shit. Like, DC Comics, DC, W to DC, shout out to DC, by the way, okay? They had a transgender writing Red Hood, okay? It just started, okay, where she was writing Red Hood, and if you don't know who Red Hood is, he's the Robin for Batman, okay? And it was the first fucking issue, but the Charlie shit happened, and she made a statement about it and said some fucking horrible shit. It was some fucked up shit. Like, if you thought what, you know, anyone else on Twitter, you know, said was whatever inappropriate, she said some crazy shit. And what did DC do? Fired her and canceled the series. They said, nope, bye, gone. And now they're getting another writer and they're starting from scratch. Honestly, accountability. Like, you don't do that shit, you know? You don't fucking do that shit, you know?
No.
So.
It's not acceptable.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not acceptable. That's you pay the consequences for that. You can say it and not get killed or prosecuted, but you can face other consequences.
It's not acceptable in a work environment. You think it's gonna be fucking acceptable? You know what I mean? Like on your own time, like and you're working for that company, and meaning like you're fucking what's the word? You know, like you're connected to them, so therefore technically what you do is like a reflection of them. You know what I mean? Like, and they don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean? And whatnot, the whole nine. Like, business is business at the end of the fucking day. Yeah, you know? So.
Yep. Business will continue. And if you're hurting business, that business has every reason to terminate you.
Yep.
It is what it is. So now, this is a power scaling question. Or not really power scaling, but more so about a power scaler, if you want to call them that. What are your thoughts on NC Hammer? So, NC Hammer is a special case. He deserves all the success.
Yeah.
He is good at painting a narrative picture. I almost call him a narrative commentator. He's talented at it. Now, from a scaling standpoint, power scaling talent, he's not elite, but I wouldn't say he's horrible either. He does just fine. He misses the mark sometimes.
Yeah.
But he's a narrative commentator and he's an entertainer because of that mostly. Yeah. He's not a scaler.
Similar to Naruto Explain. Naruto Explain's a good example of that too. So.
Yeah, he's an entertainer. Yeah. And there's obviously a lane for that. He's been very successful. He deserves all the success he's been having, regardless of your opinion on his scaling. and you're biased towards him, he's talented at what he does. If
Yeah.
not, he wouldn't be where he is. Um, as far as his scaling, it's okay. It does the job. It's not enough for people to be like, "What in the hell is this guy's talking about?"
It's incompetent. I will
Um,
say that.
it
Like
does the
a
job.
lot of it is incompetent,
Yeah,
but he does a good job. Like again, if it's lore related or any of that, whatever. But then when it comes to the scaling aspects or debate aspects of it, like that's a whole other territory. That's when you're really using critical thinking, analyzing whatever, and so on and
yeah,
so forth. And that's where he kind of falls off. And mind you, I'm saying this respectively, but I just don't think he's competent in that particular area. I think that's his weakness. You know what I mean? And it makes sense because he's not really
yeah.
in that territory either. He's not debating people all the time. He's not having discussions or whatever, at least to my knowledge. He's just typically, going on the lore aspects and narrative aspects or whatever and things like that. So, like, again, like, it makes kind of sense why that's where he wouldn't be the strongest at. But there's points where he's great, where he's phenomenal. But then there's a lot of points where it's just like, what is happening? You know what I mean? Or what? So, so, like, yeah, like, but if we're saying consistency-wise, like, he's not too competent in scaling though. But again, nothing we respect and love. It's
Yeah,
just
that's not his strength.
that's just it is what it is. So
Yeah. So we'll go in order of the questions I received. That was a pre-established question. By the way, feel free to start asking questions in the chat as well.
sir.
So someone from in the community post asked, "Who's to blame for this, if anyone, and what do you think?" I think he means in reference to Charlie's assassination. What's the next move after this assassination? Who's to blame?
Humanity.
On a grand scale,
Humanity.
on a grand scale, the flaws of emotional bias and specifically mainstream media. Obviously, literally, hyper literally, it was that piece of shit that shot him, and
Yeah.
hopefully he pays dearly.
Yeah.
But
But that's the problem. You can't blame. You can't like pointing fingers, blaming all that. Like that's fucking. That's what enables the bullshit, and that's what makes things worse. Like it's very very simple. It's the guy that used the gun and shot him. That's who's to blame at the end of the fucking day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, is there elements that could have
macro
contributed
level-
to that? Substantial, whatever you name it. Sure, but we're never gonna really fucking know at the end of the day, right? You know what I mean? Unless like the person like starts talking about it or whatever, then there you go. But he hasn't said shit either. Like all they really had was just the shit he wrote on the bullets, and that's not really anything to go off either. So like at the end of the day, like it's just very simple. Like Jay said, it's him. That's it. It's him.
Yeah, and the next move, the first move for high level and high profile political commentators is to uptick their security detail, to be more cautious when in public spaces. Maybe stick to indoors.
Yeah, indoors.
as
I was
much
gonna
as
say, Jay.
possible.
I think indoors is the way. I don't
Yeah.
like public is just too. That's too risky, man. Like there's too many angles. There's so many people everywhere all
Just
around.
after that.
There's so many rooftops and shit. You know what I mean? Like it's almost impossible to do a very successful job outside. You're gonna do a way better job if it's inside. Way better job. You know what I mean? Because you'll have an escape exit. There's not a lot of like areas where you can shoot. Like you know what I mean? Like you can control what's around. Like to where there's not windows and shit. Like indoors is the safest way. If you're gonna do a public event, and I forgot to say this way before, but if you're gonna do a public event and be in this line of work, guys, you have to remember you have to take accountability yourself. You're playing with fire. Anytime you're doing any controversial discussions, or especially doing anything political, you're playing with fucking fire. And because of how the world is, how sensitive they are, whatever you name it, and all the violence and all this shit, you have to be prepared and you have to do your own diligence. You know what I mean? There has to be accountability. So if you're going to go in public, and it shouldn't have to be like this either. Like, I'm just clarifying. It should not have to be like that. It's ridiculous, but that's just the world we live in. So if you're going to do something public, like Jay said, indoors is definitely the way to go. I would not be publicly outdoors at all. Because that dude not only shot him, but had time to get away and take advantage of the mass panic and everyone running. And there's just no way to fucking deal with it. There's just no way. Like, it was a perfect way to just do it and then be gone. Yeah. So like indoors, he has to not only get in there and pass whatever obstacles, including potential security detail, which would also help as well. Okay. But, it's going to be tremendously a lot more harder and very, very unlikely for him to succeed. And at most, maybe he'll just take a life of like a civilian or something, which is still horrible, But again, as for yourself, if you're looking out for yourself and whatever, I would recommend indoors. Absolutely. So.
Yeah, essentially, when it comes to anything that any any discussion, any topic, any field of discipline that that has inherent tribalism as a result due to the nature of it, there is going to be that the theoretical possibility of violence being met due to your position on something. So politics is probably the prime example in modern Western
Yeah.
civilization. If you speak about politics, especially about the very, very controversial topics of today, there is, no matter what what the statistical probability is, there is a possibility that your opinion can be met with violence, and we saw that on full display, unfortunately, with Charlie Kirk,
Yeah, Jay,
with the indoor
Abraham
venue or
Lincoln,
whatever you want to call it.
JF Kennedy. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Abraham
it's
Lincoln,
the
like,
beginning of time.
Lincoln, like, he was the reason why
Yeah,
slavery stopped and whatnot. And what do you know? He got killed for it, for being a hero. He stopped slavery. He about, did all the things. He put the final stamp on it, and he got killed for it, doing something that's right. Like, but again, he's in politics. Like, and then
yeah,
JFK and all that. So,
yeah,
like, yeah, like, yeah,
yeah. Essentially, anything, anywhere where there's tribalism, there is a possibility of violence. Even we see in display in first world countries. Yeah, we live in in a time where statistically violence is much lower than it's ever been. I mean, in relation to all human history.
yeah,
You know, but being indoors, there is a lower probability of a shooter because there's not as much distance a shooter can gain because indoors is a limited amount of distance encompassed by the structure that you're in. So a shooter would have to literally be damn near James Bond to get away with not being caught and having a location to kill you. It's easier for a security detail to set up a perimeter because it's a single building. It's not a radius of miles. Like, for
yep,
example, in Charlie's situation, he was outside. There were multiple buildings with access points, and security
angles,
detail
everything.
clearly missed one, and it cost Charlie his life. If he was inside, let's say in a theater room or a lecture hall, that probably wouldn't have happened. He probably would have been fine. The probability that fucking dickwad would have got the chance to shoot would have been very unlikely.
Yeah,
The second he even shows his fucking face, I guarantee there would have been someone that noticed. He would have been cooked and probably killed, deservedly so. So that's the immediate move. On a grand scale, on a macro level, there has to be more. There has to be an emphasis on pushing freedom of speech. There has to
yep,
be an encouragement of freedom of speech from social media platforms, from high level influencers, from political figures, the president,
yeah,
from the city level to the president himself. There has to be encouragement of the sharing of ideas, the sharing of new solutions to problems. That has to be continued to be encouraged, because once if that's minimized and diminished, then we have a problem. Then you could have true resentment, which again could cause a civil war if there's enough resentment. We saw that during the times of slavery, right? And that was justified. But the point is, violence on a grand scale could be an outcome, unfortunately. So that's what I would say should be the next move. I believe there was another question in there. It said, let me see real quick. You have so many people saying the rhetoric and talking points made about Charlie is what causes. I hear this as we learn more about the shooter. We see to come from a good household, so maybe there's some validity in that. And how does this shape your personal view of the media or political side of the internet? The internet and the media is a dangerous, dangerous source of echo chambers,
yep,
because now that we don't, again, I always reference past human history. Now that we don't have literal tribes where we have to live with to survive and hunt every day, our humans have shifted this tribalism to other forms, and the main form being echo chambers, from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook, whatever the fuck. These echo chambers, some of them are dangerous. That piece of shit, from my understanding, was on the internet. I use on the internet very, very, very commonly, and people believe that he was influenced. He came from my understanding, a good household, a God-fearing man, and his father, or a Republican at the very least. And his father, as soon as he found out, he said, "What the fuck? You're going to prison."
yep,
And clearly, he respected his father enough to follow his wishes. But clearly, this kid found an echo chamber online or
yep,
somewhere that wasn't a healthy source of influence, and it caused him to go this route, to literally take another man's life because he disagreed with him, to engrave these stupid ass fucking messages on these bullets out of spite. And they were
yep.
stupid. They weren't even. They were
Oh
stupid
yeah,
as fuck. They were.
it
Some of
was
them
like
were.
some Discord
There was a
shit,
dumb,
some Discord bullshit.
like, trolling shit.
Yep.
Yeah, like, it was a joke to this fucktard. This guy's clearly a fucking retard, And well, I should have avoided ad hominems, but he's a piece of shit. That's that simple. So my view on internet and the media and mainstream media rather is it can be dangerous if you're naive enough. It can be dangerous if you don't have you don't have the common habit of critically thinking when it comes to key political topics or opinions on people such as Charlie. If you don't have the ability or at least the habit, because I think most people have the ability and just haven't built upon it to critically think and come to a logical conclusion on someone, the social media and the internet can be a dangerous place.
Yeah.
You could feel like you belong, even to a dangerous group. Reddit is a horrible example.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
some fucked up shit on there. I've heard from very, very fucked up shit on there. And if you're some 15-year-old naive kid coming home from school and you fucking hate Trump and you go into these Reddit forums where it's the most heinous shit you could ever see, that's dangerous. That's how you create one of these
You
shit
think
wads
Twitter's
that shot
bad?
Charlie.
You think
That's
Twitter's
how they're
bad?
created.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
bad shit out there. Fucking like, bro, the
horrible.
one example, even the dark web. You know what I mean? Like that, like that's the worst of the fucking worst. Like you got,
Very
like
dangerous.
you guys again, like you take shit for granted, but if you actually like were involved in criminal justice fields, or and I'm not saying to do this, but if you were ever on the dark web, okay, the shit you would see there, you would never look at life the same. You know what I mean? From what I've heard and been told,
Yep.
you would never look at life the same. Okay? It's not all rainbows and sunshines. I'm gonna make that very fucking clear. We live in a very dark fucking world. You know? So again, yeah, it's very important.
Yep. Very important. There's another question. This one's more philosophical, more general. It's what are your thoughts? And these are big words, but they're philosophical. I'll put them in layman's terms. What are your thoughts on suffering-focused ethics and minimalist axiology? So essentially, suffering-focused ethics is the idea that you minimize suffering as much as possible for all sentient beings. That's why you have vegetarians that hate people that eat meat because they think the animals are suffering.
Yeah.
That's why you have people that are, overweight that talk shit because they think you suffer losing weight and that it's a horrible process. But I'm digressing, but essentially, that's what that is. Minimalist axiology is pretty similar. It's the idea of betterness, basically reducing bad things as much as possible. So they're pretty similar. They're almost synonyms from my understanding.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say in a general sense, this guy's asking, what are your thoughts on eliminating all discomfort, eliminating all suffering? This is my thoughts on it.
It's impossible, by the way.
There are righteous, yeah. First of all, it's impossible, but there are right types of suffering. I think I'm gonna speak specifically for a man. Just as an example, a man has to suffer in some shape or form to reach his full potential. An example, physically, going to the gym. The act of rigorous weightlifting or rigorous, cardiovascular exercises, it's suffering in a way. You're not harming your body long term, but you're suffering in the moment. That's necessary suffering. That's righteous suffering because the outcome of that is beneficial to you, to those around you, to your family. You can be there for them longer. You can live longer. If you have children, you can be there for them and well into older age. I think there are righteous forms of suffering. And I think as far as the bad versions of suffering, of course, we should limit it as much as possible. Of course, we should try to stop it as much as possible. That has to be with a logical lens. Going back to what we were talking about, the gun control thing. Of course, we all wish no guns and no weapons and no violence existed. That doesn't exist. There has to be a logical lens when you have this kind of ideology or philosophy. Yes, we should limit bad suffering and limit fucking horrors. Of course, we all want that. But we can become more resilient to these horrors, to the suffering, to these horrible, horrible things with righteous suffering.
Yeah.
We build our bodies, we can protect our family. We build our minds, we can make money for our family. We build our minds, we can protect our family better from scammers, from people that want to manipulate our family members that aren't as well equipped intellectually or physically. You need this righteous suffering as a man. You need this righteous suffering as a human being, women as well. So I think suffering is necessary to an extent, depending on the kind of suffering. Again, I call it righteous suffering. That's my term. And as a result, you will be better equipped to eliminate the bad suffering for those that you care about. At least it starts on a micro level.
Yeah,
now,
Jay. Just to add to that really quick too, remember Payne's one of his statements in quote where he says, "Sometimes you must hurt in order to know, fall in order to grow, lose in order to gain, because life's greatest lessons are learned through pain." And that is fundamentally so fucking accurate and true. Like, that's the only way you can really grow as a human being. You know, it really is. So just want to add that to it.
Yeah, it's necessary. Yeah, it's necessary. It's needed, and I think that's been the case since the beginning of history. Now it's less blatant because because we live in first world conditions. So it's like people think it's no longer necessary, but it is. It is to make money, to be a great man, to be a great woman. It's still necessary.
Like, and just to clarify too, Jay, like, should it have to be like that? Like, should it be? No, not necessarily. But again, that's not reality. Like, it is, like, we're in a reality where you earn what you get. You know what I mean? And so on and so whatever you name it. Like, sure, would it be great if everyone could live in fucking, I don't know, I'll give an example. Infinite Tsukiyomi, where you have all your dreams and blah, blah, you're happy as shit, whatever, yada, 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 right? Everything's great, you know? But that's not how it works. That's just not life. That's not, you know, like like it is what it is. We don't have the technology to do that. We don't have the power to do that. So unfortunately, it is what it is. And again, like he says, you can turn the bad into good. Okay, even if bad things happen to you, it boils down to your willpower and your perseverance and your resilience as a human being. And you can turn that bad into good, and you can become stronger because of it. And that's what he's basically getting into, you know, in simple terms.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. It's basically mitigating our imperfections and mitigating this life. I mean, you can never reach perfection. You want to be able to handle the tough times, and how do you do that? You prepare yourself through stress, through righteous suffering, and that way you'll have a more successful life, and your people that you care about will as well. So that's my thoughts on that very idea. The next question that was asked, let me read it again. It's right here. It's more philosophical as well. This is more governmental, I think. What do you think is better for societal organization, centralization or decentralization? Centralization basically is all decision making is made at the top. Like, there's one order, and they make all decisions. Decentralization is the idea that it's more spread out, it's more hierarchical. So that's a lower question. I do now. Yes, does it depend? I think there's a middle ground. Now you're talking about the idea between a dictatorship, and then at the other extreme you have like communism, right? Communism where everyone's equal. In a way, that's still centralization because there still has to be a ruler. But the point is, I think the idea of perfect equality doesn't exist. It can't exist. And the idea of one king doesn't work in practice. Many governments and empires have fallen because one man doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it, and humanity won't. A society won't be sustained with one king. Maybe there is one good king that does great, but then his son might be bad, or his son's son might be a bad king, and then you have an uproar, and then you have the fall of an empire. So in my opinion, humans inherently are hierarchical. From the minor or micro level, from the family level, there's usually the father, the mother, and the children, right? As far as the authority or the decision maker. And at the macro level, you know, in a company, you have the CEO, you have maybe the supervisors, the managers, then you have the employees. Those companies seem to prosper. And at the greatest of scale, you have for example, our system's pretty good. It's not perfect, but we have the president, we have the judicial system, the Supreme Court, you have legislation, Congress, the House of Representatives. With there being balance, there's no monopolization. If you have a king, he's a monopoly. He has all the power, and no one's perfect. They're going to make a mistake. The next generation might be a dickwad of a king, or the generation after that. There has to be checks and balances, which is the beauty of our system. Again, not perfect.
Yeah, it's tyranny.
There is
like we don't do tyranny.
Checks and balances, even on the. Yeah. No, yeah, that's what will happen eventually. If you have centralization, pure with only one decision maker, eventually there will be tyranny.
It's a fucking tyrant.
You can't avoid it. Can't avoid it historically. Yeah, it'll always happen. You can't have one person in power. You can have the guy that is the highest of authority, but he shouldn't be the sole decision maker. There still should be a system. And even CEOs have to answer to the government, to the IRS. The IRS has to answer to someone. The president has to answer to Congress. You can't just fucking make a decision and that's it. There is still a system of checks and balances that keeps order, that maintains fairness, that limits the possibility of tyrannical uprisings. I think there has to be a balance. The lowest of levels should have a say as well. For example, in a company, employees shouldn't just be fucking exploited and used to the CEO's will. That doesn't work either.
No.
Because a company will fall.
They'll leave. They'll be like, all right, fuck you guys.
Employees
We'll
will
go
quit.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll leave. Yeah, there has to be a system, and historically, that's one of the best. That's probably the best system you can have. Again, there's no perfect system to implement that idealized idea, but that formula seems to work well. The United States, modern Western civilization, is more balanced than there used to be. There is monarchies aren't as prevalent. The most powerful countries have more of a system of checks and balances, from Russia to the United States to China. China to an extent, they have their flaws as well. But the point is, there's more success with a hierarchical structure where there is some say-so amongst all levels, and there's checks and balances. But yeah, that's my take on that. I think that was the last question. We've been going on for a while. We'll go, unless more questions or more super chats come in, we'll go a little bit longer. Feel free to ask all questions, though. I'm going to go through the chat and see if I missed any, because we talked for a while. I didn't read through them. I think there was one that caught my eye here. Where is it at? Let's see. I didn't expect Crawford to. Yeah.
No, you're good, brother. After that, when you read that next question, I'll even show one last thing. It's really short and simple and brief. And this way it gives you guys additional time if you want to do anything else towards the end. But yeah, if any other further questions, whatever, but I'll show something as well just to fill in the time too for you guys.
Yeah. So someone asked, didn't ask, but kind of stated. I guess I can bring this up because it happened yesterday.
Okay.
I didn't expect Crawford to win it all. So Canelo fought Crawford yesterday. It was probably the biggest fight since Manny Pacquiao and Floyd. It was that big. It was on Netflix. Obviously, you only need to pay $12 a month. You have access to it. Now, I thought Canelo would win going into it, but I knew how good Crawford is. I knew how talented he was, how underrated he was from a boxing standpoint. Yeah, he doesn't have the name Canelo does, but as far as skill, he's right up there. Yesterday, he proved that. He outboxed Canelo. For the first time, at least from my perspective, Canelo looked old. Canelo looked slow. He didn't look as aggressive, or he didn't have the intensity he had, for example, against Caleb Plant. Age starts to take place, man. And Canelo has, while Crawford's older biologically,
Yep.
Canelo has over double the rounds in his career that Crawford does. That's a lot of fucking rounds. That's a lot of mileage, a lot of tread on the tires.
Yep.
Canelo, who knows? Maybe this is his time. Maybe it's time for him to hang it up, or be okay with not being a world champion anymore. Crawford fights differently than Canelo. He doesn't use intensity and aggression. He uses technique and finesse.
Yep.
More like a Floyd, similar. Canelo, especially early on in his career, was aggressive, was tenacious. As he got older, he kind of optimized his defense better, but he still was aggressive. He was in a lot of wars. Triple G, fucking Bivol.
Oh yeah.
Some of these other wars he's been in. He has a great chin. He's never been fucking like slept, but that wears on you, man. After 500 plus rounds, professional boxing.
There's a saying. There's a reason why you have your prime, and then eventually you degrade. That's with anything, man.
Yep.
Age.
Yeah, and some guys do it right. Some guys do it right, like Floyd. He barely took any punishment, got up probably at the right time, undefeated. Some guys don't. For example, Ali, right? RP Ali. He looked like a shell of himself by the time he was done. He's gonna beat up. He was slower. He wasn't the Ali we saw when he fought Frazier or Liston or Foreman. He got a lot of wars. He didn't get out at the right time. Another example would be maybe even Pacquiao. Pacquiao lost a lot towards the end of his career because he kept wanting to go at it again.
Yeah.
The MMA, Tony Ferguson got fucking spanked. He kept coming back. He lost like 7 times in a row. They actually had to cut him. He didn't want to quit. They had to cut his ass because he kept getting his ass whooped. That's what you don't want. That's what you don't want in the sport. Canelo didn't look terrible. He lost the fight though, clearly. He didn't get his ass fucking like knocked out or anything. Maybe now's the time to start analyzing what's next. What should I do next? Do I want to stop here while I'm still relatively on top? He's not the champion anymore. Crawford is now, but do I want to leave now that I'm on top, or do I want to keep losing a few more times and tarnish my legacy to an extent?
Yeah.
That's up to him. That's up to him to decide. Yeah, it's a tough spot for a great champion.
It's going to be interesting,
It's
though.
hard to
It's
swallow
definitely
your
going to be
pride and say,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to swallow your pride and say I'm done. That's it.
Oh,
I don't have it
Jay,
anymore.
speaking of IRL things and whatnot, and I know we were talking about like all this stuff, morality, violence, blah blah. It's just everything. It technically connects to everything we've been discussing, even the Charlie shit. But another thing that happened recently too that was going everywhere was the Rampage Jackson's son incident with the wrestler.
Oh yes, yeah.
And that's another example what I'm talking about too, guys. Like where again, that is not okay at all. Now, I will say,
okay.
like, I'll say this, like, if you know the entire context, what's it called? He still wasn't fucking justified, which that's the crazy part. Like, I was hoping, like, he would, like, in some way it was like understandable in a way, but no, there was literally fucking nothing. Like, the wrestler used a fucking beer prop. It was a prop. It wasn't even real beer or whatever, and he even smashed it on his hand, and he did it on his head or whatever. He had contact with him, but he thought he was a wrestler, that he was part of like the thing. It's like a fucking event they had, whatever, and he was a worker, and he wasn't a worker, and so he didn't mean to, so he apologized to him. He like said, I'm sorry, whatever, blah. They hashed it out, they talked, whatever, and it was done right there and then. The Rampage Jackson's son was on stream, and he was talking whatever. Someone else was talking to him too, like trying to enable him to like to escalate shit. But he was talking to his stream. He's like, don't worry, guys. Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna get some back. Don't worry. He said something along those lines, or whatever, blah blah. And apparently, that wrestler allowed him to join the wrestling map and to be part of a script and to do a certain thing because he felt bad or whatever. And they had basically that discussed, So he went into the ring and he did what they discussed that they agreed upon. But he did a lot more than that. He picked him up all the way in the air, actually slammed him legitimately. Not faking or nothing.
Yeah.
Either the slam knocked him out or it was part of it, but then he punched him, and it was either the slam or the first punch that he was just gone. But after that, he just kept punching and punching and punching on an unconscious person. And that alone, again, is the problem that we have in this fucking society. Because technically that's attempted murder. He's unconscious, he can't defend himself. You know what I mean? It was also never agreed upon. He just assaulted him out of fucking nowhere, whatever, blah, blah. And he did so much damage that he broke all the bones in his face. He made him miss teeth and everything. And he flatlined. He literally died. They had to resuscitate and bring him back. So he technically even killed him on top of it. Because, and honestly, if you, I don't suggest to watch the clip because it is fucking disturbing, but he's hitting him with full fucking force over and over and over to his face with just no protection.
Conviction.
You know? So he just snapped. He just saw fucking red and that. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because it again, not only it shows how bad shit is getting, okay, but accountability is just fucking non-existent. Like that that kid was never arrested. Nothing still has not been done for whatever fucking reason, okay. And then everybody was justifying it. Everybody's arguing and debating and fucking sticking up for it. Like that's the world we live in. Like, we're just so fucking desensitized, you know what I mean? To where this guy is over here doing a fucking extremely violent act and literally technically killed someone, but they were able to bring him back at least, Because if he did die and stayed dead, he would have definitely been in court and he would have been convicted. You know what I mean? And then that would have been a whole fucking trial and shit. Yeah. But because he didn't...
Murder charge.
Yeah, but because he didn't... It's just in the air, basically. And even though the officials are investigating whatever, but clearly that the victim, I forgot his name, the wrestler, I would assume he hasn't pressed charges because nothing's come out yet, So, again, like, the point being said, guys, is...
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. The point being said is we have a fucking problem, And it's sad because Rampage Jackson, who's a pretty cool dude, like for the most part, he basically was on the right page. He was saying all the right things, whatever. But then eventually there was a point where, like, I think it's because he was just getting emotional and he just couldn't handle all the judgment and negativity and whatnot around it, to where he started getting really angry and emotional and started just sticking up for his son and saying fuck everybody, whatever, blah blah, the whole nine. But he did say like it was bad, whatever, and et cetera, et cetera. But point being said, we have a problem. We do have a fucking problem, and it's getting out of control. You know what I mean? It is getting out of control, and it's sad. Yeah. But that's another example that happened literally just recently as well, before it got to something even more fucking extreme. So just want to bring that up. But
yeah, it's he definitely needs to pay some sort of punishment. He clearly assaulted him violently with conviction. He was throwing punches with conviction multiple times, slammed him on his head with full force, injured him severely, nearly killed him. there has to be some sort of repercussions for that.
Yeah. And the
Follow
son, and
jail
the
time, to be
son, the
honest. He's
son
already released
explained
some.
why he did it
There's no doubt
too,
about that.
and it was even more concerning. Like he was very angry and emotional at the moment, but his reasoning for why he did that is he was cursing and yelling and saying, "I'm tired of everyone fucking with me. I'm tired of everyone like disrespecting me or whatever and blah blah and yada yada yada." That's not an excuse to fucking go up and just beat a fucking unconscious person to death. Like, no, like, okay, like you know, you know how many times I've dealt with disrespect or bullshit or whatever, blah blah. Yeah, you don't see me going out doing that shit. You know, like that's not an excuse. You know.
Yeah, there's no excuse for it. It's inexcusable. Definitely premeditated. He even talked about it in the clip. He's like, I'm gonna fuck him up. Like, it was premeditated. He had the intention to cause bodily harm, and he needs to pay the price for it. Whether people like his dad or not, who's a Hall of Famer, doesn't matter. He has to pay the price.
And I love Rampage Jackson. I love him.
He deserves it.
I'm a fan myself, but I'm sorry. I'm gonna call out when there's bullshit and wrong. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Unexcusable. It's unexcusable behavior. But yeah, folks, we'll have a couple more minutes before we wrap it up. But yeah, this was more of a serious topic today, or serious stream rather.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you guys tuning in.
I'm gonna show one last thing. This way, it can give some people, like, if they have any last questions or whatever. But I did want to show one more thing, and I'm gonna even stream it too. It's a very short clip too. And this is backtracking a little bit into like everything we've been fucking discussing, and then just talk about Charlie Kirk one last time, because again, he is technically the main profound figure of what's leading into all this anyways, into why people are like finally opening their fucking eyes, which it shouldn't take to this point. We should have been to this point a long fucking time ago, you know, with the kids and everything, the whole nine. But I'm gonna show this clip, and what's it called, and then go from there. Let me pull it up real quick for you, Jay. One sec. Okay. And mind you, now I'm gonna play the whole clip, and I'm not even gonna pause it. But you guys tell me if he's racist in this clip.
I want you to answer me this: how is it that coming up in Chicago, East Garfield, and coming up in Cabrini Green, can you tell me how is it that coming from a city like that and getting to a place where we came from a single parent home to a no parent home, can you tell me how is it that I was able to get married, which in June I'll be married 24 years. I have a 23-year-old son and a 21-year-old son, got through school, got a degree, went back and got another one. Can you explain to me how systemic racism kept me from doing that?
It doesn't. Systemic racism didn't, because every person can make good decisions and flourish in this country regardless of the color of their skin.
So then how is it that somebody like me did it though? I mean, wait, I'm black. I'm coming up in a oppressed era, so can you tell me how I was able to achieve that?
You tell me.
Well, from what I'm being told, it's because I was lucky.
It was probably hard work, good decisions, maybe a pastor or a mentor that, you know, gave you good guidance.
So then why is it so hard for everybody else to look like me to understand that?
You ask them.
Trying to. So I want you to answer me.
So that's the clip. So
yeah,
from that clip alone, Jay, like I don't. That's what I'm saying. I just don't get it. Like, people say, like, you know, the allegations, oh, he's racist, whatever, blah blah. Where's the racism? He's talking to him with, like, he's smiling, he's happy, he's having a good time. You know what I mean? He's proud of him, he's acknowledging whatever, you know, and so on and so on. The black guy is literally talking with him, thanking him, you know, having a great time, whatever, and trying to set an example, like, hey, we can do this. You know what I mean? Don't stay in a victimization mindset, and so on and so forth. Believe in yourself, and you earn what you get. You know what I mean? Like, you see, like, and mind you, I've seen only a couple clips. You know what I mean? Just a couple minutes of homework, and just seeing a couple clips. But yet people can go from all these crazy things to he's a fascist, racist, all this stuff. You know, thinks people should be gunned down, blah blah, all this crazy shit. And it's just, I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. You know, it's sad. I don't know. Yeah, like, from what I've seen, he seems like a pretty decent dude. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. And that's the majority of people think. He clearly has no prejudice against other races. He clearly gave that guy his flowers for his accomplishments. It's just disingenuous claims out of emotional bias and disrespect, mostly, against Charlie Kirk, even after his death, which is just distasteful.
Yep.
To give my opinion, that's what it is for most people. Yeah. Folks. R.I.P. Charlie Kirk.
No. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. all the other individuals that have suffered this year. The high school shooting in Colorado. Prayers for those people.
Yep.
The members of the House of Representatives that got shot down in Minnesota. R.I.P.
To any gun violence, period. Any gun violence that we might not even know about, any losses within this month from guns, from years, within like the first year or 2 years recent, just any of it, man. Rest in peace. It's horrible. It sucks. It shouldn't be happening, and it's getting scary that things are getting worse and worse. And because of that, guys, be diligent, be prepared, make sure be smart. If you think it's more safe to stream, whatever, blah, blah, and be in your own home, do that then. If you're going to do a public event, maybe be indoors, whatever. You got to really start thinking nowadays because it's getting crazy. So.
Yeah, it's a shame, and, hope you guys are safe out there. God bless all, like I said, and thank you for coming out today. Obviously more of a serious stream, but we'll be back next week with the stuff we do best, anime, stuff like that. But yeah, stay safe, folks, and we'll see you next time.
Sir.
Stay classy.
Peace.